Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Dragon Ball. Sign in, obtain the immortal body at the beginning. Chapter 61. At the end of the reminiscence, Son Gohan returned to the underworld. Wukong sat on the somersault cloud and continued to practice in Kalanta. Tell me, what do you want me to do for you? The soothsayer asked. I want to know the whereabouts of the last Dragon Ball. The soothsayer nodded, and said something to the crystal ball. Soon a picture appeared on the crystal ball. A speeding red car. The Dragon Ball is in this car. And this car is approaching us, not very far from us. After learning the specific location and distance, Li Shu said goodbye to the turtle Immortal and flew towards the location mentioned by the divination mother-in-law. Lord Pirav. Looking at the short and familiar figure, Li Shu punched enthusiastically, directly blowing up their car. The Pirav trio, looking at the man in front of them with a bewildered expression, soon looked frightened. Li Shu ignored the three of them, and locked on to a target with a sweep of his gaze. It was a strange box, and when Li Shu opened it, it was indeed a Dragon Ball inside. Put down the Dragon Balls. Pirav took out a universal capsule and threw it on the ground, and a battle mech appeared. Before Pirav finished speaking, Li Shu flew up and kicked the mecha hundreds of meters away, slammed into a mountain, and scrapped. What did you say? Li Shu looked at him with a smile. Pirav swallowed his saliva, waved his hand in a panic and said, It's nothing, I said please take the Dragon Ball. Li Shu stepped forward, rubbed Pirav's little head fiercely, and laughed. You are so short, the purpose of your collection of Dragon Balls is not also to increase height, right? Not really, Pirav shouted angrily. However, Li Shu had already risen into the sky and disappeared from his sight as a streamer. 3 days later, the headquarters of the Red Ribbon Corps. Congratulations, the side check-in mission, Red Ribbon Legion headquarters has been completed. Get reward. Universal Booster Box. Universal Boosting Box. There is a very small probability that the items in the box will be boosted once and can be used once a day. Looking at the magnificent buildings, Li Shu felt that he was about to get rich again. It's a pity that he has no interest in money now, and he can't spend it anymore. Li Shu was a little dumbfounded, but he soon became excited. The wish not to be afraid of pain is finally coming true. With his current combat effectiveness, it would be enough to push the entire Red Ribbon Legion headquarters sideways under normal circumstances. As soon as Li Shu appeared, a piercing alarm sounded from the headquarters of the Red Ribbon Legion. Dozens of fighter jets flew out, and on the ground were countless soldiers, all heavily armed. Obviously, the Red Ribbon Legion, which has the Dragon Ball radar, is ready to fight. Although there was only one opponent, after experiencing the previous few painful defeats, they did not dare to look down on the man in front of them. Fire! The commander-in-chief sat in the command room and gave orders. In an instant, countless flames rushed straight towards Li Shu. Li Shu calmly responded, and raised his hand to raise a round of full moon into the sky. He planned to fight quickly. The body swelled instantly, and Li Shu turned into a giant ape. The combat power reached a terrifying 4,464. What kind of monster is this? Firepower doesn't work against him at all. The rocket artillery hit him, and he didn't even knock out a single hair. Roar! Li Shu roared angrily at the crowd and launched the lion's roar gong. Under the powerful sonic attack, all electronic components failed, and the fighters crashed one after another. The dense soldiers, in this roar, directly bled and fainted. One by one, the soldiers fell to the ground, and the scene looked very decompressed. In just one breath, the Red Ribbon Legion was wiped out. All this was done by the roar of the great ape. The commander-in-chief who was sitting in the command center turned pale with a pale face, and he was speechless for a long time in the scene in the surveillance screen in front of him. This is a power that he cannot comprehend. Even the latest android created by the doctor does not have such terrifying power. The giant ape's scarlet gaze looked at the most majestic building in the middle, and came to him with a jump. Its huge body was taller than this building, and the terrifying and violent aura made the only remaining personnel in the building tremble one by one. Combat strength, 233. A trace of doubt flashed in the eyes of the giant ape. There was such an existence in the building. It's absolutely impossible. Otherwise, in the original book, it is impossible for Wukong to destroy the entire Red Ribbon Army by himself. Then there is only one possibility. the plot has already begun to change. However, this is no longer important to Li Shu. He directly raised the entire building from the ground and shook it wildly. At the same time, a white light flew out of the building. It was a completely unfamiliar face with a big 9 on its chest. Android 9. Kill him. Otherwise, we will all die. The commander-in-chief clung to the window, almost thrown out, and shouted loudly. Android 9. The giant ape's brows furrowed. Didn't he see the combat power of the androids? How can I see it again now? Could it be because Android 9 is more advanced and closer to humans than Android 8? I saw that the android number 9 attacked without fear of death, and he could still fly. However, Li Shu just slapped the android 9 apart. Normal battles, less than 3 minutes are over. The commander-in-chief looked at the scene in disbelief, and his mood could not be calmed down for a long time. It wasn't until the giant ape grabbed him in his hands that he panicked and begged for mercy in horror. Let me go. Don't kill me, otherwise, you won't be able to get the rest of the Dragon Balls forever. A hint of disdain flashed in the ape's eyes, and he stretched out a finger to poke open the door of the Red Ribbon Legion's treasure vault, taking in all the Dragon Balls and gold and silver treasures inside. Immediately, Li Shu recovered his true body and looked at the commander-in-chief with a sneer. Now, I need you to list the crimes you have committed. Quote. The commander-in-chief is stupid. He wonders if there is an undercover agent inside him. Otherwise, how could the other party know so clearly where his treasure room is? Except for himself, only his adjutant knew. Did I betray myself? How is this possible? Then there is only one truth. Adjutant Brock, it's you. You're undercover. The commander-in-chief looked angrily at the black adjutant with a pale face. Stop talking nonsense. Hurry up and list your crimes, and you. Li Shu looked at the bewildered adjutant on the side again. Don't try to run away, you'll only kill yourself. Then, Li Shu flew into the air and said with a lion's roar, now, you only need to list the crimes you have committed, and I will spare your lives. Quote. Since Dao Baibai's task can be overfulfilled, is it also possible to punish adultery and eliminate evil? At this glance, there are a few thousand people. Yes, it's me again. Yes, it's the headquarters of the Red Ribbon Legion. You should send someone over quickly. Yes, the whole army is annihilated. There are thousands of people. You must send more men. It is better to send all of them. Yes, don't confirm it anymore. Hurry up, it's not the first time we've dealt with each other. Li Shu hung up the phone, and his whole person was refreshed. Not only is the wish of collecting the Dragon Balls not afraid of pain about to be fulfilled, but the task of punishing adultery and eliminating evil is also about to be overfulfilled, which is really a pleasant day. The process of waiting was boring, and Li Shu, who had nothing to do, took out that universal lifting box and thought about what to improve first. The universal lift box looks like a black box, the size of a suitcase, with 2 buttons on it. Switch and start. The system is too lazy, it's a suitcase. When the case was opened, the internal structure was no different from the suitcase he had used before. After looking around carefully, Li Shu didn't find anything magical. It's a very small probability. It won't be a trick for me, make me happy. Li Shu had to maliciously speculate on the system. But when you think about it, he didn't lose anything, so it didn't matter. I wonder if there is any way to make that universal booster box improve itself. Li Shu touched his chin and pondered. Well, it's me who was too whimsical to put a dinosaur leg in and try it. Soon Li Shu wondered. The dinosaur's legs were more than 2 meters long, and the box was only 1.6 meters, so it couldn't be put in at all. No matter, maybe the box has its own way. Sure enough, the moment the dinosaur's legs touched the inside of the box, a mysterious force emerged, shrinking the dinosaur's legs, sucking them into the box, and then automatically closing. Li Shu then pressed the start button. System. Improving. System. Congratulations. Elevate to success. Get the new item Endless Dinosaur Legs LV5. Quote. Omega D Omega. Li Shu was stunned. This is a success. A negligible probability. What are you kidding? He failed 3 times with a 99% success rate. Li Shu is a little incredulous. Does this mean that the possibility of failure is very small? No way, it must be because I'm the emperor. Li Shu quickly denied this speculation, and the voice of the system sounded again. Ding. Congratulations. Earn the achievement, once done. I didn't expect you to succeed at one time with a slim probability, which really shocked the system. Quote. Achievement reward. Title Lucky Star. Plus 10 achievement. Lucky Star permanently increases the success rate by 10%. Cow pie. Li Shuxuang flipped through and took the dinosaur leg out of the box. Endless dinosaur legs LV5. Variety. Renewable edible spirit weapon. Ability 1. Can be attached to the leg. Ability 2. Can stimulate the tempting aroma of meat. Ability 3. Spiritual ability 4. Sky fighting ability. 5. Combat power increased by 6% after equipping. Li Shu looked at his battle again and increased by 3.5. Combat strength. 375.5. Although a 1% increase may not seem like much, it can be grown, as long as you keep your luck. At this pace, it only takes 3 months for his combat power to double. Okay, good, the system finally didn't cheat me anymore. Li Shu happily nibbled on the dinosaur leg, and after waiting for a few more minutes, the people from the police station finally arrived. They even sent 5 helicopters, as well as dozens of large police cars. Jing Yuya walked over quickly, looking at the densely packed and heavily armed soldiers behind Li Shu. The shock in her heart was beyond measure. She couldn't imagine that someone could destroy the entire Red Ribbon Legion with her own strength, and the man in front of her was like a god descending from heaven. Can I treat you to a drink in the evening? Jing Yuya was full of curiosity about the man in front of her, and she wanted to know more about it. Li Shu looked at Jing Yuya. To be honest, she looks very good, it is not exquisite light makeup, and her beauty is no longer inferior to Wusheng Yuya. If you dress up carefully, some celebrities will be overshadowed. There was no reason to refuse a beautiful woman's invitation, so Li Shu readily agreed. I know of a yakitori shop, it tastes pretty good, it's opened by my friend, we can go there at night. Okay, I'll call you after work. 88,888,888, is that your number? That's right, it's not easy to remember, but I paid a lot of money to buy it. The speed of the police officers was very fast, and the two chatted for about 10 minutes before closing the team. So, see you in the evening, my hero. Jing Yuya smiled brightly, waved her hand and left with the police force. Ding. Achievement Quest Ring. Punish evil and eradicate evil. Current progress 2687 300ths. Congratulations. The achievement quest ring, Punish Rape and Eliminate Evil, has been overcompleted. Quote. Get the reward. Hero title. Achievement points reward, 5,000. Bonus reward. The title of hero has been upgraded to the title of Bronze Hero. Bonus achievement points reward, 5,000. Bronze Hero combat power increased by 60%. Combat strength, 587.54. Cow pie. It's cool. Under the impact of such a rich reward, Li Shu's face turned red, and his mood was so excited and happy that he was incomparable. It made him want to sing a song. The end of the vast world is my love. The flowers are blooming at the foot of the green mountains. What kind of rhythm? It's the most swaying. Quote. What kind of singing is the most? Open. Bosom. Soon. Li Shu entered the state of singing and dancing rap, and his excitement gradually calmed down. Cool, 10,000 achievement points, how can I use this? I don't have any experience at all. Aha. Quote. The 10,000 achievement points. Li Shu looked at it and looked at it, looked at it and looked at it, and looked at it again, and the corners of his mouth were about to grin to the root of his ears. Calm down. There is one more thing that has not been done. Li Shu took a few deep breaths, and his emotions finally calmed down, and he placed the 7 dragon balls he had collected together, exuding a bright luster. Come out, Shenlong. With a shout, 7 dragon balls that shimmered with light suddenly inspired a dazzling golden light. The bright sky was overshadowed, and the day suddenly turned to night, and lightning and thunder roared. The vision of the divine dragon appearing covered the entire sky, and everyone raised their heads in shock. Looking at the divine dragon soaring up from the dragon ball, Li Shu was shocked. Although I have seen it many times on TV, it is a different feeling to be there now. Ding. The main check-in quest, Summoning the Dragon Live, has been completed. Quote. Get the reward. Make a wish once. Ding. The next sign-in location is the site of the 22nd Martial Arts Tournament. Quote. Mission reward. Reminder once. Tips. What kind of reward is this? And it's also a main check-in task. Please say what you want. Shenlong's voice buzzed, interrupting Li Shu's thoughts. Li Shu looked at Shenlong solemnly. He had been looking forward to this wish for a long time, and today he was finally able to come true. My wish is not to be afraid of pain. It's as simple as you wish. Shenlong's scarlet eyes lit up, and a majestic voice resounded all around. Li Shu looked at Shenlong with anticipation, finally no longer need to rely on painkillers. Quote. However, after waiting for a long time, Li Shu felt that he had not changed at all, but beads of sweat the size of beans appeared on Shenlong's face. He looked at Shenlong suspiciously. Shenlong said embarrassedly, "I'm sorry, your body is too special, I can't do it, can you change your wish?" Quote. Are you kidding? Li Shu looked at Shenlong with a confused expression, and said unwillingly, "Can you try again?" Quote. I'm sorry, I can't do it with my divine powers, no matter how many attempts I try, the result will be the same, so you might as well change your wish. Horse stepping. Li Shu's original good mood suddenly disappeared, and he was even a little irritable. Well, Li Shu suddenly thought of something. The check-in reward is make a wish once, maybe the wish that Shenlong can't realize, the system can realize it. System, I want to make a wish. Li Shu hurriedly said. System, please say what you want. Li Shu fell into deep thought. This wish should be thought about. 100 times the pain. He has gradually adapted, and there is also super painkiller with the system's omnipotent ability. It is a bit wasteful to make a wish of not afraid of pain. My wish is infinite achievement value. Li Shu's eyes lit up and said to the system. System, you're dreaming. Li Shu. After thinking about it, Li Shu felt that it was impossible for the system to satisfy such wishes. If you were a system, you would never be able to satisfy such a desire. The success rate is 100% permanently. After careful consideration, Li Shu said a more reasonable wish, which should not be refused, right? System, as you wish. Quote. The next second. Ding. Congratulations. Wish fulfilled. Quote. Wish fulfillment. Congratulations. Lucky Star has been upgraded to Lucky Star LV1. Congratulations. Lucky Star has been upgraded to Lucky Star LV2. Quote. Congratulations. Lucky Star is upgraded to Lucky Star Max. Quote. Lucky Star Max success rate is permanently increased by 100%. Cow pie. It has to be a system. Li Shu was satisfied. In this way, the achievement points he has worked so hard to accumulate will never be wasted again. 100 times the pain is nothing, sooner or later, he will be able to fully adapt. I just don't know if the 100% success rate of Lucky Star Max has any effect on the Universal Booster Box. I'll find out if I try it tomorrow. Li Shu's mood became happy again. Even if it didn't work, it didn't matter, it was originally a prostitution. His original plan was to use 10,000 achievement points to rush the Lucky Star skill, and now this expense is also saved. The achievement points saved can be used to improve pain control, which is very cool. He can currently control 8 times the pain, and every level of improvement increases by 3 times, and it won't be long before he can satisfy his desire to be not afraid of pain, and at the same time, he can also let others try the sourness of multiple times the pain. Have you made your wish? Shenlong was a little impatient and urged. Li Shu thought for a while and said, Immortality. As you wish. Shenlong's scarlet eyes lit up, and Li Shu instantly felt a subtle change in his body. Li Shu was ready to fail, and he began to think about the next wish, and as a result, his wish for immortality came true. This made him incomprehensible. Could it be that not afraid of pain was more difficult than immortality? Who knows? Your wish has been granted, goodbye. The dragon suddenly shone brightly and returned to the Dragon Ball. 7 Dragon Balls soar into the sky and are about to be scattered all over the world. Looking at the glittering Dragon Ball, Li Shu had a bold idea in his heart. Since Sun Wukong can catch the 4 planets, why can't he catch them all? As soon as he thought of this, Li Shu suddenly rose to the sky, took out that Universal Ascension box, and the moment he opened the door of the box, he received all the Dragon Balls that were about to scatter into the box. Sure enough, Li Shu laughed. During the cooldown of the universal lifting box, it only lost the ability to lift, but it can still be used as an ordinary suitcase. After waiting for a few minutes, Li Shu reopened the black box, and there were 7 petrified Dragon Balls inside, lying quietly inside. Cool, 1 wish per year, and it also saves the time of collecting. Li Shu felt that today was the coolest day since he came to the Dragon Ball world. It's a pity, there is no task to do, there is only one mainline sign in task left, and there are still 3 years left before the next world's #1 martial arts conference. I'll talk about it later, let's have a cool wave first. Li Shu saw the huge achievement value of 10,000 points again, and immediately smiled. If you don't spend the 10,000 achievement points, you always feel itchy and uncomfortable. Raise the dinosaur leg to level 10 first, and see if there will be any new changes. With a thought in mind, 4 consecutive ascensions sounded. A 100% success rate is cool. Increasing from LV5 to LV10 costs a total of around 500 achievement points. Endless dinosaur legs LV10. Variety. Renewable edible spirit weapon. Ability 1. Can be attached to the leg. Ability 2. Can stimulate the tempting aroma of meat. Ability 3. Spiritual ability 4. Sky fighting. Ability 5. Ruyi. Ability 6. Combat power increases by 15% after equipping. Ruyi. Seeing the extra ability, Li Shu tried it, and sure enough, like Wukong's wishful stick, it could be made longer and shorter. Not only that, but it can also be thicker and thinner. It can be described as big or small, as I like. The rules for the increase of combat power have also changed. From level 9 to level 10, it is no longer a 1% increase in level 1, but a 5% increase in level 1. Do you want to keep improving? After seeing that upgrading from level 10 to level 11 requires 512 achievement points, Li Shu plans to improve Immortal Body once first, and use all the rest to improve pain control. It's best to pull it up directly, and if you have a surplus, it's not too late to lift the dinosaur's legs. Combat Strength. 618. With his current combat strength, before Raditz came, the Earth was already invincible, and a few more percentage points didn't make much sense. Raise the Immortal Body. Ding. Congratulations, you have obtained a new skill, Super Immortal. Quote. Inquire about the Super Immortal details. Super Immortal Body. Ability 1. Instant recovery of fatal injuries. 2. Ability to regenerate severed limbs. 3. Ability to regenerate by dripping blood. 4. Ability to destroy and regenerate. 5. Increase pain by 20,000%. The pain has increased by 100 times. Li Shu was a little speechless, but it was not unacceptable. He could adapt to 100 times the pain. What about 200 times? After a few more beatings, I got used to it. What does it mean to destroy rebirth? Is it the destructive power of the god of destruction? Li Shu reacted suddenly. His immortal body didn't seem to be invincible. If memory serves, the whole king also has an erasure technique. Boost Super Immortal. Without any hesitation, Li Shu decisively chose to be promoted again. The immortal body is his biggest whole card, and it can be erased by the whole king. How can this work? Insufficient achievement points. Failed promotion. Failed. I still have 7,310 points to achieve. Li Shu was shocked. He glanced at the record, and it cost 2,000 points to upgrade the immortal body to the Super Immortal Body. Do you need 20,000 achievement points for the next difficulty increase? Li Shu decisively paid a high consulting fee and received a systematic reply. System. It takes 100,000 achievements to increase Super Immortal. Quote. 100,000. Hearing this astronomical number, Li Shu felt that he had a long way to go. In the future, when you meet the whole king, let's be a little more stubborn. Boost pain control until you don't have enough achievements. Li Shu gave another order. Continuous improvement. Congratulations, you have obtained a new skill, Pain Manipulation LV6. Pain Manipulation LV6. You can control the pain sensation of yourself or the target, and the control range is plus or minus 28 times LV5 right pointing arrow LV6, and the control multiplier range is plus 8. Shish, it's so expensive. Li Shu gasped, and he spent 6,200 achievement points by upgrading from LV1 to LV6. Increasing the Saiyan bloodline is only 20 achievement points. Li Shu roughly calculated, and with each level of promotion, the cost doubled. In other words, the cost of raising Saiyan bloodlines from LV1 to LV2 should be 40 points. The pain control has been increased from LV1 to LV2 for 200 points. That's a 5-fold difference. He thought that 10,000 achievement points was already a lot, but it seemed that he was too naive. It's only a few cools, and after deducting the consulting fee, he only has 998 achievement points left. At this time, he found out that the fee for consultation was determined according to the content of the consultation. After 2 consultations, he was deducted as many as a few hundred points. If you calculate it this way, Lucky Star Max is simply blood earning. At least tens of thousands of achievement points have been saved. Quote, although the backstage does not show the cost of improving Lucky Star, such a good skill will not be much lower than pain control. Thinking about it like this, Li Shu's heart was much more balanced, and his mood became happy. There are 998 points left, what should I improve? Li Shu thought about it and decided to keep it for a while. I have to say that the feeling of crazy consumption is really cool, and Li Shu is a little unsatisfied. He decided to give himself a vacation, go to the mall and spend a wave of relentlessly. To continue this refreshing feeling, he can't use up his money now. The rich life that you can't experience in your previous life has to be experienced for a while. It just so happened that there was a date with Jing Yuya in the evening, so I had to dress up. By the way, let's see if we can trigger another achievement ring quest. Wukong is practicing in Kalanta. It will take 3 or 5 days to say the least. Let's go to him in a few days. The Western capital, the most prosperous shopping mall. Sir, this dress is very much in line with your temperament. Bought it, wrap it. Sir, these pants go well with that dress. Bought it, wrap it. Sir, these socks. Sir. Bought it, wrap it. Is this what it feels like to not be bad for money? In the admiring eyes of the female saleswoman, Li Shu is 1,000 words. No matter what the other party sells, he will just 4 words, buy, wrap it. Single quote exclamation mark. Li Shu used to only know that it was cool to have money, but when you really have endless money, you will find that it is not very cool, but it is refreshing. Sir, bought it, wrap it. Li Shu said subconsciously. No, sir, this is your bill, a total of 370,000 spent. Do you use cash or credit card? Oh, cash. Li Shu smiled embarrassedly. He was a little too happy just now, and he didn't break the car all of a sudden. That's 400,000, and the extra 30,000 as a tip for you. Thank you, sir. The saleswoman was ecstatic. Her gaze at Li Shu was a little different, and there was a hint of indescribable strangeness in the worship. At the moment when Li Shu finished paying, the system rang. Ding! Congratulations! Trigger the limited time achievement mission, Shopaholic. Quote. Mission description. Please spend 1 billion on shopping within the same day. Reward. Royal Saiyan blood. Current progress. 370,000. Sure enough, there is such an achievement. Li Shu is not a brainless consumer. The reason why he did this, in addition to wanting to experience the life of a rich person, is more to test it to see if he can trigger the achievement task. However, before he could rejoice, the system rang again. Ding! Congratulations! Trigger the achievement ring quest. 10,000 flowers, not a leaf sticks. Mission statement. Gain the affection of 300 women, but no physical contact. Quest reward. Love Saint title. Achievement points reward. 5,000. Current progress. 0.03. Love Saint combat power increased by 30%. Shish, it's a bit of a difficult task. Quote, 2 achievement tasks in a row, 1 time limited, and 1 achievement ring. Li Shu was quite happy at first, but after reading the task description, it hurt a little. The difficulty of these 2 tasks is one higher than the other. Li Shu, who walked out of the men's clothing store, suddenly walked back and said in the respectful eyes of the female saleswoman, I bought all the clothes in the store. Ah! The saleswoman's excited face suddenly flushed, and she couldn't help but scream. Looking at the man in front of her in disbelief, she suddenly wanted to make a promise. It's 100 million, is it enough? Li Shu threw out a universal capsule with a snap, and 100 million cash instantly piled up. Wrap it all up for me, I'll pick it up in an hour, is there a problem? Li Shu added, if the money is not enough, I will come to make up the difference. Enough. Rest assured, sir. The saleswoman's legs were weak, and as soon as her body was crooked, she was about to fall to Li Shu. Li Shu hurriedly dodged, and said solemnly, "This lady, please maintain your professionalism, now is not the time to faint, please pack it for me as soon as possible." The saleswoman sat on the ground in embarrassment, and quickly got up and got busy. Ding! Achievement ring quest. 10,000 flowers, not a leaf sticks, the current progress is 1/300th. A smile appeared on the corner of Li Shu's mouth. It seems that this task is not as difficult as imagined. At the same time, Li Shu's move of spending a lot of money attracted all the sales in other stores, especially the female salesmen, who looked at him eagerly. Combat strength. 294. In the crowd, a value of combat power attracted Li Shu's attention. 294. How is this possible? And I couldn't feel his breath at all. Quote, if it weren't for the existence of the Eye of Battle, he would have completely ignored the existence of the other party. Could it be an artificial human? This reminded Li Shu of the android number 9 he encountered when he destroyed the headquarters of the Red Ribbon Legion. That's a character that shouldn't have been there. And now I've met another one. Unable to perceive the aura, but with such a powerful combat power, Li Shu couldn't think of any other possibilities except for androids. This discovery made Li Shu's mood heavy. It seems that due to his appearance, as well as a series of actions, the plot has undergone subtle changes. This is something that will inevitably happen, and Li Shu did not feel too much surprise. Fortunately, all this is still under his control, and with his 618 combat power, this accident is not a threat, just an accident. At the same time that Li Shu looked at the android also looked at him, and a sneer was drawn on his indifferent face. Found you. The moment the android saw Li Shu, he actually raised his hand directly at him, and a terrifying energy was converging. I don't care if it's in a crowded mall. It's clear that his goal is himself. A revenge from Dr. Grow. Li Shu's face changed wildly. If this was to let people destroy the mall, wouldn't his task be in vain? How can this work? It was too late, and at the time of a thought, the energy of the artificial man's palm had already been accumulated, and the violent orange energy light wave poured out. Rumble. The customers standing in front of him were looking at the goods in the surrounding stores, and when they realized that danger was coming, they had been blown into ashes by the energy light wave. Such a brutal method made Li Shu's body tumble with chi and blood, and the monstrous anger rushed straight to the heavenly spirit cover, and his eyes were about to split. Seeing a mother holding a baby less than 1 year old, about to die without a place to be buried, Li Shu rushed over without the slightest hesitation. Get down. The moment he rushed out, Li Shu shouted violently with the lion's roar. At the same time, his body instantly blocked in front of Bao Ma, who had a frightened face. Rumble. A monstrous noise shattered the glass of the surrounding storefronts, and the entire mall shook violently. The screams of the customers came and went, and in the extreme panic, no one listened to Li Shu's advice, they relied on instinct and ran out like crazy. The scene suddenly became chaotic, and there was a stampede on the narrow staircase, and the screams were endless. No, my baby. Quote, a mother was pushed by a panicked man behind her in the crowd, and a child stumbling out of her hand came out. The chaotic scene in front of him made Li Shu feel surprisingly angry. He couldn't watch a toddler fall to his death, and flew over in an instant and caught the child. If you don't want to die, let Lao Su lie down. Li Shu couldn't manage so much, and in order to prevent the casualties caused by panic from expanding, he had to increase the strength of the lion's roar gong. Since you can't do it, then Lao Su will help you. Under Li Shu's angry roar, everyone covered their heads in pain and fainted to the ground. The originally chaotic scene subsided in an instant. Although someone fainted and had a bump, it was unavoidable. At least everyone was honestly lying on the ground, protected by the brain, and fell into a coma. At the same time, security personnel from other floors, as well as management personnel, rushed over. Evacuate everyone on the other floors. Quick, there are terrorist attacks here. Looking at the bewildered security and management personnel, Li Shu almost roared. Just now, he suddenly had a brilliant idea in his mind to quickly complete the task of shopaholic. Therefore, he didn't kill this hateful artificial man in an instant after saving these ordinary people. At this moment, the android emitted another wave of energy light, and Li Shu once again resisted with his body. The 200 times the pain made him grin with pain, but there was a strange soreness, and the clothes on his body were torn, exposing his sturdy body to the air. Li Shu felt that he had developed a bit of a perverted trend. At this moment, the security and management personnel also understood the current situation and hurriedly began to evacuate the crowd. Seeing that they were about to carry these fainted people out, Li Shu said speechlessly, "I will protect the people here, and you go and evacuate the people on other floors." Okay. Li Shu breathed a sigh of relief, and then activated the pain manipulation, reducing his pain by 28 times. At the same time, it increases the pain perception of the android by 28 times. I don't know if the android is afraid of pain. Li Shu didn't bother to think about it. Now that someone is dealing with the aftermath, his brilliant plan can be implemented. Just as the android was about to attack again, Li Shu dodged and appeared in front of him in an instant, cutting off the android's arm with a hand knife. Looking at the expressionless face of the other party, Li Shu was very envious. Cyborgs are really not afraid of pain. He suddenly wanted to transform himself into an android, but after thinking about it, he gave up. The terrifying power displayed by Li Shu surprised the human being, and he looked at his severed limb in disbelief. It's made of an alloy that can withstand missile attacks. And the other party actually cut him off with just a hand knife. What a terrifying power! At the same time, the combat system of the androids gives a warning of extreme danger. Without the slightest hesitation, he turned and ran. Be an honest tool for me. Li Shu caught up in an instant, and kicked the android away with a whip leg, smashing into the nearby shop, destroying countless goods and decorations. He didn't exert all his strength, but controlled the force, otherwise this step would have exploded the android's head like a watermelon. Without giving the androids a chance to react, Li Shu knew that they all had self-detonation devices in their bodies, so he chased after them instantly, grabbed the android's head, and frantically slammed them on the ground. Smashed all the goods, including the store. Li Shu's movements were very fast, and in just a few minutes, the entire floor of shops was smashed, and not a single complete commodity was left. This is only a layer of goods, and if it will lose money, I don't know if it will be enough for $1 billion. Smash a little more, it's a rare opportunity. Li Shu sensed it, and there was no breath of a living person downstairs. So he smashed the android in his hand into the ground, instantly smashing a big hole in the ground and falling to the next floor. The violent movement immediately attracted the crowd downstairs who were evacuating to the safe passage. The crowd screamed incessantly. The corners of Li Shu's mouth raised, and then he hurriedly shouted at the crowd tragically, "Run! This terrorist is too strong. But don't worry, even if I give up my life, I will hold on until you all leave safely." Quote. Outside the mall, sirens blaring. More than a dozen ambulances have stopped, and they are still coming. Dozens of fighters hovered in the air. On the ground, there is a dense mass of armed forces. They watched the mall in waiting for orders from their superiors. What's going on inside? The command center, the leader of the armed forces, asked with a frown. I heard from the people in the mall that there was a terrorist attack inside. Terrorist attack? How many people are there? Quote. One. Are you kidding? What about the casualties? It's not clear, there haven't been many casualties so far, and most of the people have been evacuated. How many people are in there confronting the terrorists? One. What? Is this really a terrorist attack? How destructive can one person be? Quote. Just as the leadership was working on how to fight, new news came from the front. Report, sir. It's over, and our guys are heading to the search and rescue. Quote. What? I'm just getting ready to start deploying. Quote. Outside the mall, there was a crowd of people standing inside, who looked inside with curiosity and shock. Just now, there was a violent movement in the mall, as if a construction team of 100 people was working inside. The roar continued. Such a violent movement made it impossible for them to imagine what a terrible battle had taken place inside. They felt like the building was going to collapse. Just after everyone had evacuated, it didn't take long for the movement in the mall to stop. However, it was only quiet for 3 seconds. A loud explosion suddenly sounded, and the mall building shook violently. But the imaginary blast did not happen. At that moment, a figure walked out of the mall with a head in his hand. Miraculously, the head showed no signs of bleeding, but was mechanical. The danger is gone, and there are fainting people inside. Li Shu shouted at the armed forces, and in the admiring eyes of everyone, he walked straight to the mall manager. The armed forces who rushed into the mall were immediately stunned by the ruined scene in front of them. How fierce would it be for the battle to destroy the internal structure of the mall like this? The important thing is that there are two people who have a fight, and they are bare-handed. I'm sorry, but your mall is probably going to be renovated. Outside the mall, looking at the mall manager with a nervous face, Li Shu showed a bright smile on his face. People, thank you so much that people are okay. Redecorating was nothing and I bought insurance. Quote. Insurance, what about the damaged goods in those shops? Quote. Maybe they've got insurance, too. Is there any such insurance? Li Shu asked in some surprise. Or, perhaps, but someone will compensate for the cost. Hearing this, Li Shu breathed a sigh of relief, and then said apologetically, in this way, you can count the loss of goods in your shopping mall, and I will pay for this money, and I will treat it as if I bought it. How can this work? The manager of the shopping mall suddenly changed his face, and hurriedly said, you are our benefactor, if it is not for you, our shopping mall does not know how many people will die, and at that time my shopping mall will not be a problem of redecoration, even if it will not go bankrupt, it will suffer heavy losses. Quote. Don't worry, we will never do anything that chills the hearts of heroes, this fee is out of the market. How can this work? Li Shuyi refused rhetorically. One person does one thing, although I am out of good intentions, but these goods are indeed damaged by me, so I ask to buy all the damaged goods, this matter is not negotiable, please be sure to count the amount before the sun goes down. Quote. The mall manager was stunned, he had never seen such a generous and courageous man. The figure of the man in front of him seemed to be even taller. No, absolutely not. You almost paid with your life to save us, how can you make you pay again? No, I've got to get this out. No, you can't come out, if this is known to others, what do you think of us? Ungrateful. No, I don't care, I've got the money. In this way, the two quarreled with red faces, which attracted the attention of many people. Reporters from the news media arrived belatedly and hurriedly captured the footage. After some interviews and inquiries, they learned the reason for the quarrel. It's so touching, this is a selfless hero. The reporters did not hesitate to praise their words, and they almost praised Li Shu to the sky. Under the live broadcast of the whole process, under the mediation of reporters and friends, the manager of the shopping mall finally chose to give in. He was deeply moved by Li Shu's noble sentiments, and he burst into tears in the depths of his feelings. He was a great man, a selfless man, a man of integrity, a man detached from low tastes, a noble man. And our heroes. The mall manager was full of tears and praised the camera. In the end, he gave Li Shu a big salute and left the scene to count the amount of goods. Li Shu was surrounded by reporters and asked endless questions. Yes, the terrorist I killed was indeed a robot, or an artificial human, to be exact. How did I defeat him? If you know me, you will know that I am the champion of the last world's #1 martial arts conference. Wouldn't you feel sorry for all the damaged goods, but for a lot of money? The journalist asked. Li Shu said seriously, I have never touched money, I am not interested in money, money is just a string of numbers for me. The reporters were collectively silent for a moment. So will you attend the next martial arts tournament? Yes, the reporters' interview lasted for half an hour, and Li Shu answered all questions. With a serious face, he was happy in his heart at the moment. Ding! Achievement ring quest. 10,000 flowers, no leaves stick, current progress 23/300. In just one interview, he gained the affection of 22 people of the opposite gender. It seems that the correct way to complete this love saint task should be to be a star or an idol. Li Shu suddenly felt that Kun Zhong was not such a chicken skill. He really wants to show it off camera, maybe he can gain more progress. But he soon dispelled this idea, and once he did, it would definitely become the biggest stain on his life. There is no hurry, there is no time limit for this task, and after more people see the interview, the progress should go up, especially the victims of the opposite gender this time. As the interview continued, a female police officer came over and took Li Shu away. The reason was the recording of confessions. Shouldn't you thank me for helping you out? Jing Yuya looked at the man with a smile. I thank you. Li Shu was a little helpless. In fact, he wanted to be interviewed for a while, but it didn't matter. Most people have a headache with those reporters, and you seem to be a little different. Faced with Jing Yuya's question, Li Shu did not answer, but said, why do you meet you every time you go to the police? Maybe that's fate, Jing Yuya said with a bright smile. Li Shu laughed a few times and agreed with this statement very much. The two chatted for a long time, and before they knew it, it was time to close the team again. You see, I might have to work overtime tonight, and dinner might have to wait a while, you shouldn't mind, right? Before leaving, Jing Yuya asked seriously. Why? Call when the time comes. See you in the evening. See you in the evening. 6 p.m., mall manager's office. Mr. Li Shu, I have already counted the amount, please take a look. The mall manager came up with a list. Li Shu glanced at it and looked directly at the final summary amount. 12.3 billion. We're willing to take a part. After seeing Li Shu's surprised gaze, the mall manager hurriedly said thoughtfully. No, it's just that the number is far more than I expected. Under the shocked gaze of the mall manager, Li Shu took out 12.3 billion in cash. He thought that Li Shu would swipe the card, and he had already prepared the tools, but he didn't expect it to be cash. Who would carry 12.3 billion in cash with him? After thinking about it carefully, the manager of the shopping mall hurriedly stopped the idea of continuing to think about it, and sent Li Shu away respectfully. Ding! Congratulations! The limited time achievement mission, Shopaholic, has been overcompleted. Quote. Get the reward. Royal Saiyan Blood. Plus 3.0 achievement. Bonus. Bloodline Fusion Potion. Plus 3.0 extra achievements. Bloodline Fusion Potion. It can fuse a variety of bloodlines in the body into new bloodlines, with a success rate of 10%. Bloodline Fusion Potion. 10% success rate. Li Shu grinned. He is now a man with a 100% success rate. I have to say that Li Shu is very satisfied with this reward. Saiyan Bloodline has been replaced with Royal Saiyan Bloodline. He is not going to engage in other bloodlines either. The fusion of Royal Saiyan Bloodline and Super Earthling Bloodline is quite good. And it has been proven in the original book that the compatibility of these two bloodlines is very high, and you don't have to worry about becoming 4 likes. On top of that, the potential of the hybrid bloodline after the combination of Saiyan and Earthlings is amazing. Among them, the representative figure is naturally Sun Wukong's son Sun Gohan. Li Shu immediately drank the blood fusion potion that had just arrived. In an instant, Li Shu felt a burning sensation coming from his abdomen, which soon spread throughout his body. Severe pain followed from every pore, every blood vessel, and every cell of the body. Under the increase in the pain of super immortal body, this extreme pain reached an extremely terrifying level. Li Shu only lasted for a moment, and then hurriedly took a pill of super painkiller. At the same time, there was a crackling and popping sound in his body, and blood was oozing out from every pore, and he became a bloody man in the blink of an eye. All go. Blood vessels burst all over the body. Heavy bleeding in the body. Oops, how did the liver burst out? Li Shu, who has no sense of pain, is like an outsider, experiencing every change in his body with his heart. If it weren't for painkillers, such pain would not be able to be borne by an individual. Fortunately, with the super immortal body, those fatal injuries instantly recovered as before. In this way, Li Shu circulated infinitely in the explosion of blood vessels, liver, kidneys and other explosive organs. He felt like he should have experienced countless deaths and rebirths. The most intuitive change is that the combat power is skyrocketing. Combat strength, 893. Combat strength, 1327. Combat effectiveness, 1691. Combat strength, 2133. Combat power, 2765. Combat power, 2999. Well, 5 minutes later, Li Shu took another super painkiller and wondered, why is the combat power stuck at 2999? Quote. What's going on? The breaking and standing in the body is still continuing. But the combat effectiveness is not rising. It didn't take long for the bloodline fusion to end. Ding! Congratulations! Obtain a new bloodline, Earth Emperor Saiyan bloodline. For the sake of insurance, Li Shu immediately said, consult the Earth Emperor Saiyan bloodline. Quote, Earth Emperor Saiyan bloodline. Ability 1. After being seriously injured and recovering from death, the combat power will be greatly increased. Ability 2. Chi Sense level permanent plus 10. Ability 3. It is easier to transform into a Super Saiyan ability in multiple forms. Ability 4. When you are in a state of excitement or anger, the ability to resist attacks will be greatly increased. Ability 5. Potential huge boost. System. The consultation is over. The consultation fee is 200 achievement points, deducted. Hey, that's expensive. Although it is expensive, it is also true that it is not cheap. Li Shu can afford to spend. Next, it's time to experience the changes brought about by the Earth Emperor Saiyan bloodline. Li Shu held his breath and began to feel his own chi, and experience the changes brought about by the 10-level chi sense. With the adjustment of Li Shuki, his combat power began to decline rapidly, combat power, 5. Then it rose rapidly, and so on and so forth. Level 10 chi sense can already control the strength of chi. If Li Shu wants, he can completely hide his chi. Not only that, but his chi perception is more acute and wider, almost covering the entire earth. Even if he doesn't deliberately perceive chi now, he can feel Wukong's position. Even through the change of chi, as well as the familiarity with Wukong, the brain can show Wukong's every move at the moment. It's a wonderful feeling that can only be understood. After the sense of chi increased, he seemed to have entered another realm. It takes a hearty battle to really appreciate this subtle change. He decided that after tonight, he would go to Wukong to practice and temper Wukong at the same time. At the same time, he vaguely sensed the opportunity to transform into the second form of Super Saiyan. After experiencing the changes brought about by the Earth Emperor Saiyan bloodline, Li Shu began to think about the reason why his combat power was stuck. Maybe I need a close fight to bring out the potential in my body to break through this bottleneck. Li Shu thought of this possibility. After all, the way he improved his combat effectiveness did not come from cultivation. Perhaps after a fierce battle, the potential is stimulated, and the combat power of this card owner will skyrocket again. At 9 o'clock in the evening, Jing Yuya finally got off work and made an appointment with Li Shu to come to Yebi Little Bear's roast bird shop. Li Shu. The moment Yebi Xiaoshang saw Li Shu, he was very surprised. Why are you here? Is this your girlfriend next to her? It's not, Li Shu and Jing Yuya said in unison. Yebi Xiaoshang was stunned for a moment, then showed a smile that I understood, and said enthusiastically, whatever you want to eat, I have a treat today. The two of them glanced at each other, saw the look of embarrassment in each other's eyes, and under the warm greeting of Nobi Bear, they found a place by the window and sat down. Nobi Bear's craftsmanship is very good, and the two of them are also very happy to eat and talk about a lot of things. What, are you married? It wasn't until Li Shu heard Jing Yuya complaining about her husband that she instantly felt bad. Jing Yuya was about to say something. Li Shu's face changed suddenly, and he stood up from his seat with a pout, looking in the direction of Kalanta with a shocked expression. I'm sorry, my brother is in trouble, I need to get over immediately. After speaking, Li Shu jumped out of the window directly, soared into the sky, and disappeared into the sky like a meteor. Jing Yuya stuck her little head out of the window and looked at the sky in shock. Soon, she withdrew her gaze, eating the chicken skewers with blank eyes. Her mood became a little lost, and she muttered in a low voice, is it so terrible for a married woman? Quote, how did Goku's chi become so weak? Quote, and why did Yamcha and Klin's chi suddenly disappear? What the hell is going on over there in Corinta? Li Shu, who was speeding in the air, had a faint bad premonition in his heart, and his face was extremely ugly. In Li Shu's perception, Wukong's breath was getting weaker and weaker, and it had reached the point of dying. You can even feel a strong anger from Wukong's breath. Continuously increase the flying buff until the achievement point is insufficient. Continuous improvement. Ding. Congratulations. Obtain a new skill, Flying Buff LV6. Quote, Flying Buff LV6 flight speed increased by 50%. With a song, Li Shu directly transformed into a Super Saiyan, and his speed skyrocketed again. It's supposed to be an android. Otherwise I wouldn't have been able to feel the gas. Li Shu's heart was full of anxiety, and the unexpected encounter in the morning made him quickly think of the situation that might happen to Wukong. Drive grow, it seems that he can't beat me, so he has to start with the people around me. This brute. Quote. Grass. Li Shu suddenly scolded angrily, and in his perception, Wukong's chi disappeared. He's dead. Not only that, but the aura of the guardians of Corinta, Beulah and Upa, father and son, is also gone. Ha! Li Shu looked happy. Wukong's chi reappeared, and it was much stronger. I think I ate fairy beans before my experience. Wukong, hold on, big brother will be here soon. Li Shu suddenly breathed a sigh of relief. After the near-death recovery, Wukong's combat power increased greatly. Even if he still couldn't defeat the android, he should be able to support himself until he arrived. Under Li Shu's full flight, he arrived at Kalanta in 2 minutes. The scene under the Kalan Tower made Li Shu's mood extremely heavy, and his pupils contracted involuntarily. I saw that Yamcha, Klin, Burra, and Upa were all lying in a pool of blood, dead without looking at them. They all died in the same state, with a fist-sized bloody hole in their chests. Directly in front of these 4 corpses, 2 red figures were fighting fiercely. One is Wukong, who is wearing the red practice uniform of the Turtle Immortal, and the other is a stranger who is also wearing red. There is not the slightest breath perceptible in this person, and it is obviously an artificial person. Combat strength. 188. Combat strength. 236. The former is Wukong's combat power, and the latter is the combat power of the red-clothed android. Wukong is being pressed and beaten by the red-clothed android, with multiple scars on his body. His practice clothes are already in tatters, and he can even see Wukong's ass of Wawa. Big brother. Wukong quickly sensed Li Shu's arrival, and glanced back. It was this distraction that made the artificial man grasp the flaw, kicked Wukong in the face, and smashed a boulder next to him. At the same time, the red-clothed android changed the target of his attack the moment he saw Li Shu, and a fist-sized energy light wave rushed from his mouth. Li Shu slapped his palm, and the energy light wave that shot out instantly dissipated, without causing him the slightest damage. Wukong, do you need help? Li Shu didn't make a move immediately, but looked at Goku, who was back on his feet. This is a good sparring opponent for Wukong. With him watching, it is impossible for the red-clothed android to kill Wukong. As long as he doesn't die, for Li Shu, who has a large number of fairy beans, he can give Wukong a bug card and help him improve his combat effectiveness. Big brother, I'm going to avenge Kling and them with my own hands. Wukong looked angrily at the red-clothed android and rushed forward with a whoosh. However, the red-clothed android didn't fight at all, staring at Li Shu with a dead gaze. I'll kill everyone around you. The red-clothed android smiled cruelly, and then rose into the sky and chose to retreat without the slightest hesitation. Li Shu frowned slightly. There are bombs in the body of the artificial person, and it is undoubtedly a troublesome thing to force the other party to become Wukong's sparring partner. He has always hated trouble, so he decided to kill the other party directly, and then act as Goku's sparring partner himself. Of course, if the other party is interested, you can let him live for a few more minutes, maybe dozens of minutes. It turns out that the other party is not interested, and Goku's speed can't catch up with the other party. Li Shu had to stretch out a finger, and the fluctuations of the turtle sect Qigong gathered at the fingertips, and the convergence of energy was completed in an instant. With a loud bang, the head of the red-clothed artificial man hundreds of meters away exploded instantly, and the headless body fell weakly to the ground, making a dull sound. I'm sorry Wukong, your current strength is too weak to catch up with him, and the eldest brother can only take action for you. Li Shu came to Goku and comforted, don't be too sad, we can resurrect them through Dragon Ball. Quote. Dragon Ball. Oh, yes. Goku suddenly became happy. You see, the 7 Dragon Balls, the eldest brother has already collected them in advance, and they only need to wait a year for them to be resurrected. Li Shu took out 7 Dragon Balls and placed them in front of Goku. Big brother, do you know who these people are? Why kill us? The 2 returned to the bottom of the Kalanta, and Goku inquired as he dug a pit to bury the bodies of Klin, Yamcha, Burra, and Upa in their place. It's a long story, I'll talk to you later. Li Shu looked at Wukong helplessly and continued, if you bury them in the soil for a year, their bodies will rot. Quote. Is that the case? So what do we do? Goku was a little confused. Li Shu had a headache, thought for a while and said, "We need Boomer's help. She may have some technical means to preserve their bodies, not to mention that his boyfriend Yamcha died here." Quote. Li Shu went to the western capital and found Boomer, who was skipping class. "Li Shu, how did you get here? Did you come to see me?" "I don't know why." Boomer feels that Li Shu seems to be a little different, his temperament looks more outstanding, and he is more handsome than before. Boomer, who is in adolescence, and she is a nymphomaniac, it is difficult for her to resist the charm of handsome guys. The relationship between her and Yamcha has also passed the period of passionate love, and Yamcha is stimulated by Li Shu to indulge in cultivation all day long, and the two have not seen each other for a long time. She didn't even know where Yamcha was at the moment. It is difficult for love to stand the test of time, especially when there is a better opposite gender around you. But that's all. Boomer only has a strong affection for Li Shu, which is more like a kind of worship. It's like those star-chasing girls. Li Shu looked at her solemnly, and said in a deep voice, "I'll take you to a place, I hope you can be mentally prepared in advance, Yamcha and Klin." Something happened to them. Quote. Something happened to Yamcha. Boomer's appearance disappeared in an instant, his face was full of nervousness, and even a little flustered. Top of the Kalim Tower. Wukong took advantage of the gap between Li Shu's search for Boomer and began to climb the Kalima again. After the battle he had just experienced, he was desperate to improve his strength. "If I had been a little stronger, what I just did would not have happened." After experiencing a near-death experience, Goku's strength has increased dramatically, and his speed of climbing Kalanta has also increased a lot. However, after only a short climb, Li Shu had already taken Boomer to Kalanta. "Boomer." Goku finished his practice and jumped straight down to greet Boomer. Boomer's expression was not very good at the moment, and his body trembled as he looked at the corpse on the ground. "Don't worry, we can resurrect them with Dragon Balls," Goku comforted optimistically, completely forgetting how angry and sad he had been before. Li Shu patted Boomer on the shoulder and comforted, "I'm sorry for making you feel sad, but now is not the time to be sad, they need your help." Quote. Dragon Ball. Boomer was immediately overjoyed. "Yes, we can make a wish to the dragon to resurrect them." The gloom on his face was cleared, and Boomer said, "Is it necessary to preserve their bodies?" "Yes, this shouldn't be a problem for a genius girl, right?" Li Shu also showed a smile on his face. Boomer raised his chin proudly, patted his chest and said, "Although I am inferior to you in terms of fighting, all of you together are not my opponents in terms of technology, so leave it to me with confidence." After handing over the body to Boomer to dispose of, Li Shu and Goku also followed Boomer to her home. I have to say that the mansion that is worthy of being the richest man in the world is simply outrageous, and there is even a park in it, which is outrageous. Under Boomer's command, Wukong and Li Shu moved the bodies of the four Yamcha into the freezer. "Is it okay to put it in this box?" Wukong looked east and west, very curious. Li Shu couldn't help but take a few more looks, he had only seen such equipment in movies. But considering that Boomer is still around, he can't look like a hillbilly like Goku, which will make him feel very shameless. Although, Goku's question he also wants to ask. "You can rest assured, you don't understand, you just need to believe me." Boomer didn't explain too much, in fact, the author didn't understand it but asked, "What are you going to do next? Do you know who killed them?" Wukong didn't speak, but looked at the eldest brother on the side, he felt that the eldest brother should know something. Li Shu took a deep breath, exhaled a long snort, and said seriously, "It was an artificial man who attacked us. If you watch the news, you will know that I was attacked in the same way this morning. They're coming for me." Li Shu did not hide it, and told the story as it was, including his own speculation. "It's all because I destroyed the Red Ribbon Legion, and the android attack was from the Red Ribbon Legion's mastermind, Dr. Gro. I'm sorry, this incident started because of me. Dr. Gro is here to get revenge on me, and when the Dragon Balls recover, I will resurrect them immediately." Li Shu placed the 7 petrified Dragon Balls on the table. Wukong stared at the big innocent eyes and said thoughtfully, "Is it a robot like Android 8? Li Shu nodded and said solemnly, "As we can see, Dr. Gro has developed a more powerful android." Quote. Cyborgs. I suddenly became intrigued by this technology. After seeing that the Dragon Balls had been collected in advance, Boomer crossed Erlang's legs without the slightest intention of blaming Li Shu, and the original sadness disappeared. Well, Boomer interested in androids. Li Shu was a little surprised. There was no such plot in the original book. It seemed that it was because Klin and Yamucha died at the hands of artificial people, which stimulated this genius girl. I want to do something through what I am good at. Dr. Grow can develop androids, and for a genius girl like Boomer, it makes sense to get a few androids too, right? Ding. Congratulations. Trigger the hidden achievement quest, Boomer's Revenge. Mission statement. Collect 3 complete androids and give them to Boomer. Reward. Android Handbook. Artificial Human Manual. Li Shu suddenly remembered something, and hurriedly checked the system task record. Hidden Achievement Mission. Dr. Grow's Future. Mission statement. Save Dr. Grow at a critical moment and turn him back to the right. Reward. Android Handbook. Both are hidden quests, and the rewards are the same. Li Shu suddenly smiled. This is just right, and Dr. Grow was directly slaughtered. How could such a person change his ways? Even if it could, it would be troublesome. Since it's troublesome, it's better to just slaughter it. Li Shu subconsciously glanced at the slender legs under Boomer's short skirt, quickly moved his gaze up to look at the other party's eyes, and said seriously. Beautiful Miss Boomer, I am very interested in your interest. I am willing to help you capture 3 wild androids and sponsor your research project. Wild androids. Boomer couldn't help but smile and said, Li Shu, I didn't expect you to have such a humorous time. Li Shu smiled politely, and then his expression became serious. But before we do, I'm afraid we'll need to live together for a long time until we get rid of Dr. Grow's trouble, so he doesn't dare to attack us again. This is also out of consideration for your safety. After all, we are friends. Dr. Grow will definitely hurt you if he can't hurt me, and it has been proven that he will definitely do so. As soon as he thought of the next few days, he would have to live with a handsome guy as attractive as Li Shu. Boomer's heartbeat accelerated, and a blush appeared on his face. Li Shu continued, It's better to leave the city. It's too dangerous to live in the city, and it will implicate other people. I suggest that everyone go to live with the Turtle Immortals. That old man. Boomer was a little reluctant, but agreed anyway. As for Wukong, he naturally has no opinion, and he also wants the Turtle Immortal to continue to guide him in his cultivation. The Turtle Immortal's hut, where he was watching a small movie. Grandpa Turtle Immortal. The sudden arrival of Li Shu and Wukong's shouting startled him, and he hurriedly looked for the remote control. Finally, before Li Shu and the others entered the house, they turned off the TV. As for whether they saw anything through the window that they shouldn't have seen, the Turtle Immortals did not know. Ahem. The Turtle Immortal turned his head and said in a teacher's voice, Wukong, Li Shu, why are you here? Hey, Boomer, you're here too. The Turtle Immortal's eyes were immediately attracted by Boomer, especially the touch of snow white under the skirt. His eyes gradually moved up, looking up at the peak, and his bare head couldn't help but lean up. Boomer's face turned blue, and he hit the slippery head with a fist, and roared angrily, lustful old man. What do you want? Quote. Shish, it hurts, it hurts. Why does it hurt so much today? The Turtle Immortal squatted on the ground with his head covered, and tears were about to hurt. The corners of Li Shu's mouth raised, and he silently increased the pain control by 5 times, reaching 15 times the pain. The Turtle Immortal suddenly shuddered, and the tears he could hold back flowed down, and he cried directly. His calloused hands rubbed his head wildly. Now you know it's amazing, right? Let's see if you dare in the future. Boomer raised his chin triumphantly, very satisfied with the Turtle Fairy's painful appearance at the moment. Li Shu coughed dryly, and saw that the Turtle Immortal was almost in pain, so he ended the pain control. It's strange that it doesn't hurt so much all of a sudden. The Turtle Immortal stood up with a confused expression. Teacher Wu Tian, I have unfortunate news for you. Li Shu's deep voice made the Turtle Immortal get serious, and he looked at him intently, with a faint bad premonition in his heart. Cling. He's dead. The first sentence made the Turtle Immortal's face change drastically. Soon, Li Shu told the story again. After Li Shu finished speaking, Boomer took out the frozen capsule and threw it on the ground. Bomb. After a few sounds, 4 freezers appeared in front of the Turtle Immortal's eyes. After seeing the death of the 4 people, the Turtle Immortal's face became solemn. It's all a one-hit kill, there's no trace of a fight, and you can't even resist. The strength of Yamcha, the turtle immortals may not be in their eyes, but Klin was taught by him. Even if it was him, it would be difficult to defeat Kling so cleanly, but it was easy for the other party. Even Wukong almost died, but fortunately, he ate the fairy beans in time and picked up a life. What surprised him was that such a powerful opponent was so vulnerable in front of Li Shu. Wukong's growth has already surprised him, and in order to avoid being quickly surpassed by his apprentices, he has begun to practice secretly. However, Li Shu's growth was beyond his imagination. Grandpa Turtle Immortal, can you continue to guide me in my cultivation? I want to become stronger and defeat the androids with my own hands. Wukong looked at the turtle fairy with a wistful expression, his hands clenched into fists. I'm old, and it's time for you young people. The turtle immortal sighed with emotion. Besides, I don't have anything to teach you anymore. Your strength now far surpasses mine. Looking at the old face of the turtle immortal and the appearance full of emotion, Li Shu couldn't help but say, Wukong, leave the next cultivation to the eldest brother, we only need to go through fierce battles to be able to quickly become stronger. Of course, there will be bottlenecks, so let's improve as much as we can now. Teacher Wushan, do you want to be together? Li Shu suddenly looked at the turtle immortal and continued, you don't want to be too far apart by your apprentices, do you? If I'm not mistaken, you've been secretly practicing all this time, right? Quote. Combat Power. 159. The combat power on the top of the turtle immortal's head obviously betrayed him, and was seen through by Li Shu at a glance. The turtle immortal was a little stunned, but he didn't expect his careful thinking to be seen through, and said with an embarrassed smile, I'm an old bone, but I can't compare to you young people. Li Shu smiled, grabbed the void in his palm, and a handful of immortal beans appeared, and said, I still have a lot of immortal beans, as long as there is still a breath, we can completely refine to death. Did you rob the cat immortals? The turtle immortal was shocked. Wukong couldn't wait. Big brother, let's start quickly. Li Shu looked at the turtle immortal and asked again, so, does Teacher Wushan want to be together? Although there is a saying that blue is better than blue, there is also a saying that, Lao Ji is in the middle of the blue, and his ambition is thousands of miles. Quote. Lao Ji is in the middle of nowhere, and he is determined to be thousands of miles. The turtle immortal was stunned, and his originally worn-out heart was stimulated again. Ding! Congratulations! Trigger the hidden achievement quest, the potential of the turtle immortals. Quote. Mission description. Help the turtle immortals stimulate the hidden power in the bloodline of the Earthlings and become super Earthlings. Reward. Bloodline activation. Bloodline excitation. It can stimulate the hidden power in the bloodline. A smile appeared on Li Shu's face. The trigger of the hidden task was unexpected, which was why he and the turtle immortal talked so much. It's just that the task reward made Li Shu very surprised and surprised. Through the description and reward of this quest, Li Shu gained insight into some information. Obviously, the Earthlings are not weak, but the power in the bloodline has been hidden for some unknown reason. As a result, the bottleneck period of Earthlings is particularly long and difficult to break through. After he masters the bloodline stimulation, all this will cease to exist, and the true potential of the Earthlings will be released. In the future, there will be a powerful Earth warrior who will stand out. Not only that, but he can also use this ability to stimulate the bloodlines of other races. Of course, the premise is that there is also a hidden power in the bloodlines of other races, and his ability will be effective. But this task seems to be a bit difficult. I don't know what to do at all, in order to stimulate the hidden power in the bloodline. Can you just practice to the death? Li Shu shook his head. This kind of possibility is not very likely. After thinking about it, he still decided to spend hundreds of millions of consulting fees, and consulting the system is better than groping around. Chapter 71. The system quickly gave the result of the consultation. There is a mystery between life and death, and you can refine it in death. The consultation fee is 100 achievement points, which have been deducted. Li Shu was speechless. He didn't expect it to be really what he thought, just refine it to death. Fortunately, he is very rich now, just 100 achievement points, he can afford to spend it. In fact, these 100 achievement points are not unjustly spent, at least the ideas in your heart are clear, and you can implement them more firmly, which is very important. For example, Gold diggers who do not have metal detectors know that they can dig gold by digging down, but it is easy to give up and dig again in another place if they do not see the harvest for a long time. What they don't know is that they only need to dig another 10 meters. At the same time, the turtle immortals made up their minds to practice with them. It's really emotional. I didn't expect that I would have to work so hard when I was so old. The turtle immortal smiled, but I also really want to see where my limit is. Li Shu laughed and said, Teacher Wushan, Wukong, let you see my current strength first. The moment the words fell, Li Shu burst out his powerful qi. White flames suddenly rose around his body, with Li Shu as the center, and a powerful storm seemed to have formed around him. Under the impact of the air waves, the surrounding items were lifted away, the coconut trees on the side were bent over, and the house felt like it was about to be blown away. There was a raging wave on the sea. The faces of the turtle immortal and Wukong changed greatly, and they took a few steps back under the impact of the qi wave, and only then did they stand on their feet a little shaky. Their eyes were a little unable to open, and they had to block the front with their arms, looking at Li Shu in horror through a gap. They had never felt such a powerful qi. Li Shu didn't do anything, just standing there, which brought them a great sense of oppression. More than 10 times more than our gas. The turtle immortal opened his mouth in shock. He had thought that Li Shu was very powerful now, but he didn't expect it to be so powerful that it was unbelievable. Think about it carefully. At the number 1 martial arts conference in the world, Li Shu and Wukong were still evenly matched. How long has it been? It seems like it's only been 10 days. Unthinkable. In just 10 days, it is more than 10 times stronger than before. What is this practice speed? Can you really catch up? The turtle immortal felt that the fire that had just ignited in his heart was rapidly extinguishing. Li Shu's terrifying growth rate made him feel hopeless. It's so strong. Big brother, how do you practice? Teach me. Wukong's reaction was diametrically opposed to that of the turtle immortal, and the fighting spirit in his heart became even more high, and he looked at Li Shu with fiery eyes. However, there are some doubts in his heart. After all, he has only been away from his eldest brother for a few days, but he is already more than 10 times stronger than him when he sees him today. With such a terrifying cultivation speed, he was really too greedy. This is just an all-out outburst under Li Shu's normal situation, and when he was about to transform into a Super Saiyan, he suddenly discovered that something was wrong with the turtle immortal. The expression on his face that was so shocked that he was numb made Li Shu give up the idea of transformation. Just the normalcy has already brought a great blow to the turtle immortals, and if they transform into Super Saiyans again, the turtle immortals will probably be directly rotten, and the task will not be completed. Li Shu also understands the mood of the turtle immortal at the moment. After all, he is old, and he is in a state of retirement, which is still very different from the young Wukong. After living to this age and seeing more excellent martial artists appear, he no longer has the desire to become stronger. Teacher Wushan. Li Shu put back the qi that was released, and said seriously, you may not know yet, in fact, Wukong and I are not Earthling. Not an Earthling. The turtle immortal was stunned. Boomer, who was hiding in the house, also poked out his little head and asked curiously, I have long suspected that you are not Earthlings, except for animal people, which normal person will have a tail. So, Li Shu told the story of the Saiyans. Including the fact that the Saiyan can quickly improve his strength after his death, there is no concealment in the slightest. After learning the truth, the turtle immortal was obviously relieved, and felt a lot better. No wonder the strength of you and Wukong will always suddenly improve a lot, I see. The turtle immortal suddenly realized. Li Shu said, in fact, the blood of the Earthlings is not weak. As far as I know, there is a mysterious power hidden in the bloodline of Earthlings, and after experiencing the battle between life and death, it can also inspire powerful potential. It's just that this potential can't be directly converted into combat power like the Saiyans, but needs to be improved through cultivation. This is a reasonable guess that Li Shu has come up with after receiving a systematic answer and the amazing potential of the half-blood Saiyan. Although he has not experienced verification, he feels that 8 or 9 are not far from 10. As for whether it's true or not, you'll find out by trying. And, Li Shu paused for a moment and said very seriously, Teacher Wushan, have you heard of the legendary Super Earthling? The turtle immortal was shocked and stammered a little, Super Earthlings. Goku and Boomer were also interested, and they were surprised to see that this was a story they had never heard before. That's right, it's a super earthling. With the blessing of cheeky skin LV1, Li Shu's face was not red and his heart was not beating, and he began to make up legends. Li Shu said in a serious way, "This is what I learned from the murals on an abandoned cave deep under the sea when I was collecting Dragon Balls. The powerful potential that can be stimulated between life and death, as I just mentioned, is known from the mural on the seabed. Moreover, it also records how to become a super earthling, but unfortunately I only saw half of it, and the underwater cave collapsed." Speaking of this, Li Shu looked regretful. "I didn't expect there to be such a legend." The turtle immortal looked thoughtful. Wukong looked confused, saying that he didn't understand much and wanted his eldest brother to speak again. Boomer even asked, "Do you remember the coordinates of that sea? Maybe I can restore this mural." Li Shu was shocked in his heart, and hurriedly made up, "It's useless. After the cave collapsed, I tried to bring these stones ashore, but I found that the murals on them actually disappeared magically." "Tell me, isn't it amazing?" Li Shu looked at the three of them with a really magical look. "It's amazing. Goku is convinced of this." Boomer didn't think much of it, and sighed regretfully. The turtle immortal continued to look thoughtful, as if he was trying to remember something, and everyone couldn't help but look at him. "No, is there really a legend of super earthling?" The appearance of the turtle immortal's serious memories made Li Shu a little apprehensive. "I only heard the turtle immortal say, 'How about we eat hot pot tonight?'" Quote. That's it. Li Shu, Boomer and Wukong fell to the ground headlong, but they were really thundered by the turn of the turtle immortals. The night was sparsely sparse, and fierce battles suddenly broke out on the calm sea. The two figures, one old and one young, quickly clashed, and the aftermath of the battle set off ripples on the sea, and the waves rolled. High above the battlefield of the two, a young figure was overlooking the two of them, waiting for them. Li Shu didn't dare to be careless, and was ready to rescue at any time. This battle between Wukong and the turtle immortal was full of his strength at his strong request. Combat strength. 191. Combat strength. 188. The former is the combat power of the turtle immortal in muscle form, and the latter is the combat power of Wukong under normal conditions. The turtle immortal's move was fatal, without the slightest hand, as if Wukong in front of him was his father-killing enemy, and his fierce eyes were full of murderous energy. Wukong's face was also full of anger at the moment, and he made moves to fight for his life, and the speed of his attack was getting faster and faster, and he could attack with one more tail, and he actually pressed and beat the turtle immortal in his muscular form. The appearance of deep hatred between the two was also the result of letting the turtle immortal use hypnosis at Li Shu's strong request. If they don't, neither the turtle immortal nor Goku will be able to make a dead move. In this way, it is impossible to appreciate the mystery between life and death. It's just a pity that hypnotism doesn't last too long. As for how long it will last, the turtle immortals don't know, but they just say that it varies from person to person and depends on the situation. But there are benefits to this. Whoever releases the hypnosis state first will reveal the flaws. The other person, who is still in a state of hypnosis, will seize this opportunity and deliver a fatal blow. Therefore, Li Shu didn't dare to be distracted in the slightest, and looked at the two of them intently. Fortunately, with his current strength exceeding the two of them by more than 10 times, he is enough to control the overall situation and let them eat the fairy beans at a critical moment. The possibility of instant kill does not exist. After all, the combat effectiveness of the two is almost the same, at most they are seriously injured and dying. All nations shocking palm. The turtle immortal seized the opportunity, and the electric light flashed between his palms, and a yellow lightning bolt shot out in an instant, which numbed Wukong, and controlled him to be unable to move in the electric light. As the turtle immortals continued to output, Wukong's expression became more and more painful. Li Shu, who watched this scene, felt that because of his appearance, Wukong avoided the battle with the turtle immortals at the world's first martial arts conference. Now that the earth-shattering palm of all nations has reappeared, Wukong still has not escaped the gears of fate. In the original book, Wukong, under the earth-shattering palm of the turtle immortals, accidentally saw the full moon and transformed into a giant ape, and only then did he resolve this trick. However, now that the waning moon is in the sky, Wukong has no chance to transform. Even if there is, Li Shu will open the inverted transformation domain to prevent Wukong's transformation, otherwise he will lose the meaning of cultivation. There was no accident, and in the case of not being able to transform into a giant ape, Wukong was helpless in the face of the earth-shattering palms of all nations, and his breath became weaker and weaker. The turtle immortal was also uncomfortable, and the consumption of the heavenly palm of all nations was extremely great, and he couldn't support it for too long. The battle between the two became a war of attrition, and whoever could hold out to the end would be the winner. Li Shu held a fairy bean in his hand and was always ready. Time passed, the two of them were in a stalemate for several minutes. The turtle immortal was already sweating profusely, his body was trembling a little, and the power of the earth-shattering palm of all nations was obviously weakened a lot, obviously his physical strength was about to be exhausted. Wukong's willpower is extremely tenacious, he is already angry, holding on with his last breath, and his body is constantly convulsing. Li Shu's face changed slightly, and both of them were obviously at the end of their crossbows, and they were completely holding on. After rehearsing the instructions to remove hypnosis in his heart, Li Shu shouted, "It's time to eat." The turtle immortal and Wukong suddenly shook their bodies, and a moment of confusion flashed in their eyes. The earth-shattering palm of all nations disappeared, and Wukong fell weakly downward, and was caught by Li Shu. Looking at Wukong who was dying in front of him, Li Shu admired it, and at the same time was a little curious. If Wukong's pain was increased by 28 times, I don't know if he could hold on for so long. Big brother, Grandpa Turtle Immortal is so strong. Goku's voice was weak, and a satisfied smile appeared on his face. He was enjoying the hearty battle. You're not weak. Li Shu first threw a fairy bean to the turtle immortal, and then fed Wukong a fairy bean. Wukong suddenly became alive. He felt that his body was full of strength, and he had inexhaustible strength. Combat strength, 237. Li Shu immediately looked at the turtle immortal who had regained his strength. Combat strength, 160 normal. I have to say, the Saiyan blood is really perverted. After comparing the improved combat effectiveness of the two, Li Shu was very embarrassed. Wukong has increased his combat power by 49 points, while the turtle immortal has only increased by 1 point, and the difference between the two is simply worlds apart. In this battle, the turtle immortals had the upper hand at the end, and Goku was almost electrocuted, one from exhaustion and the other from serious injuries. Strictly speaking, the turtle immortals did not experience life and death, nor were they of Saiyan blood. At the age of more than 300 years old, it is already good to be able to increase the combat power by 1 point after such a fierce battle. You must know that in the stage of low combat effectiveness, every little bit of combat effectiveness needs to be cultivated day after day. Many people have only improved their combat effectiveness a few times in the absence of guidance, even if they have been poor all their lives. For example, Mr. Satan performs splitting tiles with his bare hands in front of Sharu in an attempt to intimidate the other party. Another example is Yamcha and Klin, who have worked hard for months to practice, and have only improved their combat effectiveness by more than a dozen points. And Li Shu and Wukong, who have just come to the Dragon Ball world, have only improved their combat effectiveness by dozens of points after 5 years of penance in the mountains. From 0 to 1 in the stage of laying the foundation, hard work, but only slow improvement, is undoubtedly the most difficult and easy to give up moment. Once you persist, broaden your horizons, find the right way, and see a broader sky, that is, the sea is wide and the sky is high for birds to fly. Except, of course, hanging on the wall. Teacher Wu Tian, how do you feel? Li Shu hurriedly came to the turtle immortal's side and asked eagerly, when you were exhausted, did you feel a mysterious power surging out of your body? The turtle immortal shook his head with a wry smile. No, I feel that my old bones are about to fall apart. It seems that Wukong has not driven you to a corner, and he has not experienced life and death. I am afraid that he can't feel the hidden power in his blood. Li Shu thought for a moment and said, why don't you two beat me next? Don't worry, I'll only beat you half to death. Quote, thank you so much, Li Shu. The turtle immortal said excitedly, let's eat hot pot first. Quote, Lan Chi's craftsmanship is becoming more and more exquisite. Looking at the table of delicacies, Li Shu and Wukong were not polite, and feasted on it. Didn't you say eating hot pot? The turtle immortal asked dejectedly. Lan Chi smiled. If you eat hot pot, Li Shu and Wukong will definitely not be able to wait. It's just that it's too troublesome to eat hot pot, and when the food is cooked, I guess I'm going to starve to death. Goku's mouth was stuffed with food, and he didn't forget to mumble a few words. Come on, taste my dinosaur legs. Li Shu snapped and put the dinosaur legs, which had shrunk to 1 meter, on the table. Wukong's eyes lit up suddenly, and he bit it with his mouth wide open, but was once again nimbly dodged by the dinosaur's legs. Big brother, just let me take a bite, I've been hungry for a long time. Wukong was a little angry and looked at Li Shu pleadingly. Li Shu spread his hands. I can't help it, this guy has spirituality, and it depends on your ability to eat. Quote. Why does food have a consciousness of its own? Boomer looked at the moving dinosaur legs in amazement, and poked them with chopsticks, feeling Q-bombs. I picked up this thing, I heard that it is a spiritual weapon, but I don't know the specifics. Li Shu didn't know how to explain, so he simply pretended to be stupid. Boomer suddenly thought of something. His eyes lit up, and he said excitedly, Li Shu, can you cut a few slices for me to study? I suddenly thought of a way to make an artificial human. Boomer had been thinking about how to make an artificial man all day, and he had no clue until he saw Li Shu's moving dinosaur legs, and suddenly a flash of inspiration occurred. There should be some kind of mysterious active substance in it. Because, science, quote, first of all, and like that, in the end. The more Boomer spoke, the more excited he became. He slapped the table excitedly and stood up, laughing wildly, haha, it's me. Quote, it's just an artificial person, it's hard to be a beautiful genius girl like me. Li Shu was not stingy, and directly enlarged the dinosaur's legs, and then dodged 20 caddies, and said, is it enough? It's not enough for me to have it, this guy can regenerate, it's inexhaustible, you don't have to be polite to me. Quote, to be honest, Li Shu is a little curious, what will the artificial man made with dinosaur legs look like? It's exciting to think about. Boomer put away the 20 pounds of spiritual dinosaur legs, and after eating a few bites of the food on the table, he couldn't wait to leave. Before entering the lab capsule, she turned around and shouted, don't bother me these days, I'm going to dive into research. At this moment, Wukong let out a cry of pain and squatted on the ground with his mouth covered. Everyone looked at Wukong suspiciously, and then at the dinosaur legs jumping sideways left and right in front of Wukong, and suddenly understood. It turned out that he wanted to steal the dinosaur legs, but he didn't eat them, but broke his teeth instead. Li Shu silently activated the full power pain control and the pain was increased by 28 times. Ah, it hurts, it hurts. Wukong's tears of pain suddenly flowed out. The turtle immortals immediately burst out laughing. Li Shu took advantage of these opportunities to show off the food on the table to his mouth, and shouted at Wu Chi's wow wow. The next day, early in the morning, the wind and the sun were beautiful. Li Shu stood on the beach, looking at the calm sea, refreshed. After stretching, he took out a bottle of eye drops and dripped them onto his eyes. Ding! Congratulations! Eyes of Battle LV1 has been upgraded to Eyes of Battle LV2. Quote. Li Shu was stunned for a moment, and his mood suddenly became happy. This Eye of Fighting special potion, he used it every day, persisted for so long, and finally succeeded again. To put it the least, it saved him a few hundred achievement points. I don't know if it's the effect of Lucky Star Max. Li Shu wasn't sure. After all, in the description of the item, it was said that there was a small probability that the Eye of Battle would be improved. If the system picks out the words, I'm afraid it really won't work. Subsequently, Li Shu took out that universal lifting box and put the dinosaur legs inside. Li Shu didn't believe that his luck could be so good, and the two smaller probabilities were met by himself. If it is successful this time, it means that the success rate and probability increase are the same thing. However, the dinosaur legs were not lifted. I knew it was going to happen. Li Shu shrugged his shoulders, not very concerned. Anyway, it's a white prostitute, and it's best to be promoted, and it's nothing if you can't be promoted. Moreover, he felt that his luck was gradually improving. Glancing at the capsule laboratory next to the Turtle Immortal house, Li Shu took out a bottle of potion. Invisibility 50% Epiphany Potion. After taking it, there is a 50% success rate of invisibility and invisibility. Li Shu looked at the potion in his hand and sighed. He had already gotten it, but he was reluctant to drink it. After all, there was only one bottle, and it would be too distressing if it failed. But this time is different. With the blessing of Lucky Star Max's 100% success rate, he has to do it. With the invisibility technique, you can help Wukong and the turtle Immortal improve their sense of qi. When the two of them are almost the same, I'll go to the soothsayer to ask about Dr. Gro's whereabouts and then kill them directly. When the time comes, you will be able to brush the task of Love Saint with peace of mind. Li Shu made a plan in his heart, and immediately raised his head and drank the Epiphany potion. Ding! Congratulations! Epiphany skill invisibility. Quote. Stealth technique as the name suggests, but it should be noted that after launching an attack in this state, the stealth state will be invalidated. The description of the stealth technique did not surprise Li Shu. Considering that Dr. Gro is a Frankenstein, there will definitely be a device like thermal imaging equipment. In this way, the stealth technique has no effect in front of him. Li Shu consulted. System, how many levels of stealth can be improved to avoid being discovered by scientific means? System. Level 3 is sufficient. The consultation fee is 10 achievement points, which have been deducted. Does it only take level 3? Li Shu glanced at the remaining achievement points, and there were still 748 points, and it was not enough to spend flour at all. So, he decided to test what the upgrade base was. Boost invisibility. Ding. Does it cost 5 achievement points to increase invisibility to invisibility LV1? The success rate is 99%. Quote. It's only 5 o'clock. 99% success rate. Li Shu smiled. With Lucky Star Max, he was afraid of a and suddenly said arrogantly, directly give me a 3-level promotion. Quote. Ding. Congratulations. Obtain a new skill, Stealth Technique LV3. Quote. Stealth Technique LV3. Ability 1. Stealth Ability. 2. Dunjia Dunjia. Question mark. What do you mean? Kimin Dunjia hasn't learned. In his previous life, he died young at the age of 26, and he had only heard the legend of Kimin Dunjia and watched similar film and television dramas. I just know that it's awesome. But if you really want to talk about the understanding of Kimin Dunjia, he has 9 out of 10 tricks, and he doesn't know anything. Li Shu thought about it. If you want to block the existing scientific methods, don't you have to rely on metaphysics or more advanced science? Dunjia doesn't seem to have any problems. Immediately, Li Shu's heart moved, and the whole person suddenly became transparent, including clothes, which was very humane. He couldn't even see himself, but he could still feel the presence of his own qi. In other words, he is not completely invisible now, and a person with a strong sense of qi can sense his position by virtue of his sense of qi. Then he turned on the ability of Dunjia again. And in an instant, his entire person's aura disappeared, and with his qi sense as high as level 10, he couldn't detect the slightest outpouring. This is simply a sneak attack magic skill. With this skill, he can quietly capture the android alive, avoiding the other party from running away when he sees him, or directly blowing himself up. Now we need to test whether we can see ourselves. Li Shu walked towards Boomer's capsule lab and knocked on the door. At this point, Boomer is still sleeping, right? Who? Didn't you say don't bother me these days? However, Boomer's angry roar surged through the doors and windows the moment the knock sounded. Boomer, I'm Li Shu and I need your help. Li Shu. Boomer's voice softened suddenly, and he quickly opened the door and said apologetically, I'm sorry, I was thinking about the problem just now, I didn't mean to. Quote. What about people? The moment he opened the door, Boomer was stunned, looking left and right, wondering if he hadn't slept all night and had auditory hallucinations. Sorry to bother you. Li Shu immediately lifted the stealth technique, and his figure was gradually revealed. Will you be invisible? Boomer's face was full of shock. I just learned, isn't this going to help you catch a few androids? It's a pity that they will run away when they see me, and they will blow themselves up, so I studied stealth. Quote. You want me to test it with a thermal image, don't you? Boomer is worthy of being a genius girl, and instantly gained insight into Li Shu's thoughts. Li Shu nodded repeatedly. After Boomer's test, after turning on the ability of Dunjia, his figure completely disappeared from the hot image. That's amazing. Boomer was amazed at Li Shu's strength, and then asked suspiciously. So you can only get close and catch the androids, but how can you stop them from blowing themselves up? Li Shu recalled the beating of Android 9 and said, "Keep beating them violently, and don't give them a chance to blow themselves up." Boomer smiled and said, "Actually, you just need to take out the chip in their body. Although I haven't figured out the structure of the whole android, I can be sure that there must be a chip, which is an indispensable core part. I can make a chip detection device that can detect where the chip is mounted. It's just that this device is a bit complicated, and you'll need to wait for me for a while." Li Shu was overjoyed when he heard this, which could indeed save him a lot of trouble. After leaving Boomer's laboratory, Goku and the Turtle Immortal also got up, and after breakfast, the three of them began their arduous practice. Li Shu was 1 against 2, and the Turtle Immortal and Wukong attacked, but they were all easily dodged. And Li Shu's casual blow can beat the two of them to vomit blood. And under the 28 times the pain, as long as they are touched by Li Shu, the Turtle Immortal and Wukong will die in pain. "Shish, why does it hurt so much?" The Turtle Fairy clutched his ass and screamed, jumping up and down in an attempt to relieve the pain. Wukong also clutched his stomach, panting heavily, and his forehead was covered with dense fine sweat. "Big brother, it's no good, it hurts me to death. I look like I'm going to poop, wait for me for a while." Quote. "Huh." Li Shu looked at the two of them with a smile, "This is only 28 times the pain, can't bear it. Lao Su is 200 times. Do you know how I've been here for the past few years?" Seeing someone experiencing the same pain as himself, Li Shu was very relieved. We need to learn to share happiness as well as pain. The pain of one is not as good as the pain of all. Wukong, only by empathizing can you understand why Big Brother is so afraid of pain. Looking at Wukong, who was covering his stomach with one hand and his butt with the other, looking for toilets all over the world, Li Shu couldn't help but show an old fatherly smile on his face. In this way, during the whole morning's practice, the screams of the Turtle Immortals and Wukong never stopped. It's like the scene of a Japanese good voice show, the two compete to see whose voice is louder, and one is worse than the other. And the smile on Li Shu's face never stopped, and even smiled. Especially under Li Shu's fatal attack, the Turtle Immortal not only had his bones shattered all over his body, but his internal organs were not spared. Blood poured out of his mouth along with shards of internal organs and bone slag. And under the pain manipulation, the pain of death is magnified by 28 times. The Turtle Immortal's spirit was in a trance, and his body kept twitching, trying to release a little pain by screaming, but every time he opened his mouth, it was a mouthful of blood. And he really didn't have the strength to scream the pain. He only lasted 5 seconds, and his consciousness began to become chaotic, and he felt death coming. It was an indescribable feeling, and the memories of his life flashed through his mind quickly. The memories of his life of more than 300 years are fleeting. Just before he lost consciousness, he felt something stuffed into his mouth. I have to admire the strength of the fairy bean. The internal organs are shattered, and without the digestive system, the body can still heal. Teacher Wushan, how does it feel? Do you experience the mystery between life and death? Looking at the Turtle Immortal who was gradually opening his eyes, Li Shu asked urgently. The Turtle Immortal shook his head and nodded again, making Li Shu very puzzled. I only heard the Turtle Immortal say, I don't know what the mystery between life and death is. But just when I thought I was going to die, I heard a slight cracking sound coming from my body in a daze, but I couldn't determine where it came from. It's the sound of something cracking. The Turtle Immortal tried to describe the sound, dancing with his hands, and continued, later, after eating the fairy beans, the feeling disappeared. Listening to the description of the Turtle Immortal, Li Shu showed a thoughtful look, which reminded him of a research report on human potential that he had read in his previous life, as well as the content of an infinite stream of horror novels. In desperate situations, human beings are often able to burst out with incredible power. This power is able to break through the shackles in the body and bring out the potential of the human body, from which it derives a steady stream of power. I see. Li Shu's eyes lit up. That's the sound of the gene lock. Quote. Li Shu looked at the Turtle Immortal excitedly. It turns out that it is not useless for him to carefully beat the Turtle Immortal into a near-death state. This shows that his direction is right, and as long as he repeats this operation next, the Turtle Immortal will definitely be able to stimulate the hidden power in the bloodline and become a super Earthling. Li Shu's gaze made the Turtle Immortal's heart a little furious, and he only heard this man say, Teacher Wushan, have you heard of the gene lock? If I'm not mistaken, the sound you hear when you're dying comes from the genetic lock. This is an invisible shackle. He imprisons our potential and power in the depths of our bloodline. The prerequisite for wanting to open the genetic lock is to rely on strong obsession and willpower when you are dying. However, the power of the fairy bean has taken you out of this state, so the whole process only lasted for a short time before it ended. Looking at the gradually frightened smile on Li Shu's face, the turtle immortal suddenly felt a little cold, and his body began to tremble. I only heard Li Shu continue. To put it simply, as long as I kill you a few more times, of course, it doesn't really kill you, it's similar to the state just now. You need to be in that state a little longer, until the genetic lock is completely broken. The turtle immortal looked at Li Shu with a loveless face, his mouth opened wide, and he said tremblingly, I'll do my best. After saying that, the turtle immortal sighed and walked towards the house in an old state. Although Shando has recovered from his physical injuries, the mental pain and torture have not yet healed, and he needs to watch a small movie to relax. Looking at the back of the turtle immortal, Li Shu smiled and withdrew his gaze, looking at Wukong, who was confused all the time. Obviously, Goku didn't fully understand what had just been said. Big brother, can you give me a bite of your dinosaur leg? I'm hungry and I don't feel like I have any strength. Seeing the eldest brother looking at him, Wukong suddenly drooled, and his face was full of longing. Combat Power 283. Looking at the combat power value above Wukong's head that skyrocketed again, Li Shu was very embarrassed in his heart, worthy of being the strongest fighting nation, Saiyan blood. I'm afraid it won't be long before Goku's combat power catches up with him. Li Shu raised his hand and knocked on Wukong's head and said, didn't you just eat fairy beans? How can you be hungry? Quote. Ah ha ha, you found out, big brother. Goku scratched the back of his head with a smile. Half a month later, on the calm sea, Li Shu looked at Wukong with an extremely serious expression. Combat Power 2963. After half a month of death cultivation, Wukong's strength has been greatly improved, and he is almost the same as himself. Li Shu's long-awaited showdown has finally arrived. The bottleneck of his combat effectiveness will seek a breakthrough in this fierce battle. Big brother, I'm going to attack. Wukong was eager to try, and his voice was full of impatience. During this time, he was beaten badly by his eldest brother, and now that his strength has finally caught up, he can't wait to retaliate back. Li Shu grinned and said, let the horse come over. Quote. Ode. Goku disappeared in an instant, moving through the air at a great speed, as if he had disappeared. However, this did not do anything for Li Shu. Not only can the nose of fighting be able to warn in advance, but the eye of fighting that has been upgraded to level 2 can also capture high-speed movements. Li Shu suddenly elbowed and attacked his side. A violent roar erupted in the sky, and Goku's disappearing figure was revealed. Hiss! Wukong gasped, and the feeling of his fist hitting Li Shu's elbow was like hitting an indestructible piece of metal. After half a month of death practice, he still hadn't fully adapted to the 28-fold pain, but it wasn't unbearable. Hiss! Li Shu also gasped, 172 times the pain. He didn't fully adapt, but there was a strange pleasure. The indescribable sourness made him feel a little excited. He felt like he was getting more and more perverted. He didn't want to do that, but he couldn't do anything about it for a long time. Rumble! Li Shu directly launched the heart of the fight, and the fiery red aura exploded all over his body, and the amazing battle intent was like a stormy wave, sending Wukong hundreds of meters away. The launch of the fighting spirit made Li Shu completely excited, and the pain weakened again, and he caught up with Wukong in an instant. A storm of attacks poured out. Goku was beaten and had no power to fight back, and was hit hard in many parts of his body, and was beaten mercilessly. With a 28-fold increase in pain, Wukong's steely willpower is also a little unbearable. Just by enduring that pain, he did his best. All the nerve reactions, filled with pain, made it difficult for him to cope. Wukong's reaction made Li Shu feel a little disappointed, and he immediately lifted the pain control. Otherwise, under 28 times the pain, Wukong can only be beaten passively, and he will not have the strength to fight back until he is used to this kind of pain like him. It doesn't seem to hurt that much. Goku was ecstatic, thinking that he had adapted to the pain. Without the suppression of pain, Wukong shouted violently and slapped Li Shu's head with a whip leg. Li Shu raised his hand to block it, and the collision of the two forces was magnified by 172 times the pain, making his face hideous. But in his heart, he became more and more excited, and grabbed Wukong's ankle with his backhand, like wielding a hammer, and hit the sea with a hammer. The attack like a storm crashing on the shore, the huge impact made Wukong feel extremely uncomfortable. But under the tempering of 28 times the pain, Wukong's ability to resist hits has been amazingly improved. He actually relied on his strong abdominal strength to do a sit-up, and the moment he was lifted again, he punched Li Shu in the face. Li Shu was in pain and let go of his hand in an instant, and after Wukong broke free, he stepped forward and launched a stormy attack, without sparing the slightest hand. A burst uppercut hit the abdomen, and Li Shu again bowed himself, followed by another fierce uppercut, kicking him high into the air. Turtle, Pai, Chi, Gong. Wukong charged his hands and slammed into Li Shu in the air, and a thick blue energy light wave instantly engulfed Li Shu. When the light wave dissipated, Wukong's face changed suddenly, and the figure of the eldest brother disappeared. Invisibility. Wukong's face was solemn. In the past half a month, in order to train his chi, the eldest brother often used stealth techniques to sneak attack him. It brought a great psychological shadow to him. Because he was not spared once, every time he was punched by his eldest brother without exception, and lost his ability to fight. However, to Wukong's relief, his sense of chi has indeed improved a lot, and he can barely capture the direction of his eldest brother. Li Shu didn't turn on the dun jaw, otherwise this battle would be meaningless. Wukong is like a great enemy at this moment, and his nervous eyes look around, trying to capture the position of the eldest brother. Found you, big brother. The corners of Wukong's mouth rose, and the whole person shot out like lightning, punching the void. However, the imaginary picture did not happen, but there was a violent sound of breaking the air behind him. Oops, fooled. Goku only had time to turn sideways, and a burst of power came from his waist. This punch spurted out his bile. However, this is just the beginning. Li Shu, who seized the opportunity, directly made a dead hand, and a set of combos came down, knocking Wukong into the sky and into the sea, and the tsunami was monstrous. However, Wukong was very resistant to the beating, and seized a gap to break away from Li Shu's combo. Immediately, it was a whip leg, which was also pumped on Li Shu's waist. 172 times the severe pain, Li Shu felt that his bitter gall was about to vomit out. In this way, the more the two fought, the more excited they became, like tireless machines. The turtle Immortal standing on the beach watching the battle kept wiping the sea water on his head. He couldn't see the movements of the two of them clearly, and could only hear a loud bang. The aftermath of each collision of forces will set off layers of waves on the sea, and the waves will crash on the shore. I don't know how many times I've been baptized. We have to let them fight in a different position, or the people on the beach will suffer. The surging waves, wave after wave, the turtle Immortal shouted with worry, if you continue to fight, it will cause a tsunami. Li Shu and Wukong suddenly stopped fighting, and the two opened their distance, looking at the roaring sea, both stunned. Immediately, the two looked at each other and smiled, and flew into the air with a tacit understanding, hundreds of meters away from the sea, and fought together again. The hand-to-hand combat made Li Shu grin in pain, but the more he fought, the more excited he became, and the more he fought, the more excited he became. Every cell in the body seems to be emitting a cheering sound of pleasure. Li Shu doesn't remember when he started to become obsessed with the feeling of pain. The pain magnified by 172 times made him feel heartbreaking, but his brain was abnormally active. The extreme pain has been unable to affect other nervous reactions. He knew that 172 times the pain he had adapted. Li Shu immediately lifted the pain control that acted on himself, making his pain feel 200 times greater. If he didn't feel the pain to restrain him, and he felt that he was bullying Goku too much. The battle between the two lasted more than 2 hours. Goku was already feeling physically exhausted. On the other hand, Li Shu is still alive, and the excitement on his face gradually becomes perverted. In this long battle, he discovered another ability of the fighting heart. That is, the more you fight, the more courageous and tireless. Even if his physical strength is overdrawn, as long as he does not relieve the fighting spirit, he will not feel tired under the influence of the substantiated fighting spirit. In this state, he can constantly squeeze the potential of his body, and even overdraft at the cost of his life. When the overdraft reaches a certain level and endangers life, the immortal body will be triggered and the overdrawn vitality will be replenished. And so on and so forth, endlessly. Li Shu felt that he was simply an invincible god of war. It's a pity that he hasn't figured out the ability of fighting soul until now. He also counted on Goku to help him and bring out the ability of the fighting spirit. Looking at the half-time, panting Wukong, Li Shu had a trace of disappointment on his face. Isn't this okay? Goku. In that case, then the big brother will have to kill you again. I hope that next time, you can kill the eldest brother once. The moment the words fell, Li Shu ejected like a cannonball, and the speed was incredible. Wukong smiled bitterly. He couldn't see his eldest brother's movements clearly. But he wasn't going to give up. Since you don't know where the opponent's attack is coming from, you can only influence the opponent's judgment by moving around. Wukong immediately let himself fly, jumping up and down, sometimes left and sometimes right, sometimes flying into the sky, sometimes into the sea. However, it was all in vain. Poof! Li Shu pointed like a knife, instantly piercing Goku's chest and pinning him in midair. Ahem. Wukong coughed up blood and said weakly, "Big brother, I lost again." Quote, "The lack of physical strength has led to the weakening of the breath in the body, and the defense of the physical body has decreased significantly, and the moment the eldest brother stabbed the knife, he knew that he could not resist." Li Shu pulled out his arm, and then shot a fairy bean into Wukong's mouth, smiling. "You'll get used to it." After eating the fairy bean, the injuries on Wukong's body healed instantly, and he felt that his whole body was filled with more powerful power than before. Combat Power 3323. After taking a look at Wukong's combat power, Li Shu also ate a fairy bean, and then sensed his combat power. Combat Effectiveness 4992. The corners of Li Shu's mouth raised, and in the fierce battle, he really broke through the bottleneck, and his combat effectiveness was greatly improved. "Big brother, I feel like I'm getting stronger again, let's fight again. I'll be able to kill you this time." Wukong felt like he was doing it again, and couldn't wait to look at Li Shu. Li Shu shook his head. "You don't think you'll be promoted, right? The power has suddenly skyrocketed, so let's consolidate it first. And, Big brother has other things to do." Ignoring Wukong's invitation to fight, Li Shu returned to Guixian Island. Combat Strength 175. Looking at the combat power of the turtle immortal, Li Shu's face was full of helplessness. For half a month, he had to kill the turtle immortal once a day to create conditions for the turtle immortal to break the genetic lock. His original intention was to kill 3 times a day, once in the morning, noon and evening, but the turtle immortal did not agree, and Li Shu was not easy to force. "Teacher Wuxian's time is up, it's time to send you on your way." The corners of the turtle immortal's mouth twitched, although he knew that he would not really die, and he would be rescued at a critical moment. Although he was accustomed to the fear of death, the pain of death was still torture for him. He had no idea why he did it or how he persevered. It's like a menstrual holiday that comes every month, and although it causes physical discomfort, as long as you don't come for a month, you will be a little worried. "What am I worried about? It's impossible to catch up with them, I regret it, I want to mess up." The turtle immortal numbly and skillfully lay into the vital signs detection device, waiting for death to come. This device was asked by Li Shu to be made by Boomer, which can accurately determine when the turtle immortal will die completely. Let him master the timing of feeding fairy beans to the limit. It can also record the time from near death to complete death. What made Li Shu feel relieved was that the time for the turtle immortal would persist a little longer each time than the last time. It is estimated that it will not be long before the genetic lock can be completely broken and the bloodline of super earthlings will be awakened. "Come on, Teacher Wuxian." Li Shu immediately slapped the turtle immortal half to death, and his whole body convulsed. Outside the palace of the divination mother-in-law, Li Shu honestly lined up in a long line. He needs the help of the soothsayer to find Dr. Gro's laboratory, steal 3 artificial humans back, and kill Dr. Gro by the way. As for the issue of Klin's happiness, Li Shu has already thought about it. Cyborg 17 and Cyborg 18 are both products of live experiments, and when the time comes, you can directly find the real person. No. 17. In this way, the entire family of number 17 was prevented from being killed by Dr. Grow. Li Shubai was bored in line, thinking of the entrustment to Wukong before leaving. He suddenly felt a little worried about Wukong's Ma Daha. Wukong should be able to feed the turtle immortal beans in time, right? Li Shu was really a little uneasy, and began to pay attention to the changes in the popularity of the turtle immortal. When he sensed that the chi of the turtle immortal was about to disappear, his face suddenly changed. But fortunately, the chi of the turtle immortal was full again, and he breathed a sigh of relief. It turns out that Goku is still very reliable. After carefully feeling the changes in the popularity of the turtle immortal, and finding that it was no different from before, Li Shu was a little disappointed, and it seemed that he had failed again. Li Shu immediately withdrew his attention and began to sort out the harvest of the past few days. In the past half a month, his fighting eye has once again mentioned an improvement, reaching LV3. Possessed a certain degree of perspective. For example, he can see the flow of chi in his body. You can judge the direction and strength of the opponent's attack in advance. It can be said that it is very easy to use. In addition to this, there is a bonus. In the past half a month, the Universal Enhancement Box has been used to improve the Intermediate Immortal Bean Can. Finally, the day before yesterday, it was successfully promoted to the Advanced Immortal Bean Can, and the number of immortal beans automatically produced every day reached 6. The yield has been directly increased by a factor of 3. It didn't take long for Li Shu to meet the diviner mother-in-law again. "You're you again." The divination mother-in-law looked at Li Shu with resentment, and said, "Did you bring any money?" Quote, "I'm going to challenge 5 fighters." Li Shu smiled honestly. He can prostitute for nothing, who still spends money. The soothsayer was silent, pondering whether to abolish the rule. Otherwise, this kid will have to bear his wool, and come to him for divination if he has some. How annoying it is. "Forget it, this time I'll give you a free divination, but I'll have to pay next time." There was a hint of helplessness on the face of the divination mother-in-law. Li Shu nodded and smiled. "Next time, definitely. Tell me, what do you want to divination?" "Dr. Grow's lab, and his whereabouts." "You count this twice. Then I'll challenge it twice." "Last time, I thought you were very generous. It seems that you have been with my stupid brother for a long time, and you have become a poor ghost." Li Shu didn't talk back, just kept smiling and said, "Next time, next time." 2 minutes later, Li Shu learned the location of Dr. Grow and his lab. After saying goodbye to the divination mother-in-law, he left in a hurry. Deep in the mountains north of the northern capital, 10 kilometers away from Dr. Grow's laboratory, a figure landed quietly, and disappeared without a trace the moment it landed. The wild monkey in the tree looked at the place suspiciously. It had just seen a person. Why did it suddenly disappear? But soon he forgot about it and began to play happily with the mother monkey beside him. The location of this lab is hidden enough. Li Shu, who was invisible, flew low in the mountains. According to the divination results, Dr. Grow hollowed out a mountain and set up a laboratory inside. The distance of 10 kilometers is less than a minute for Li Shu. Soon he was outside the lab door. Looking at the mountain in front of him, Li Shu had to admire Dr. Grow's methods. From the outside, it's impossible to imagine that there's a lab hidden inside. "How do I get in?" Li Shu discovered a new problem, and then flew around the mountain a few times, and found that it was a completely closed state. Unless Dr. Grow opened the door himself, he couldn't sneak in without a sound. Just when Li Shu was thinking hard about the way, something unexpected happened to him. A huge stone wall on the mountain suddenly opened on its own. A man in a blue combat uniform flew out, and after scanning the surroundings, he turned into a streamer and flew away. He didn't find Li Shu, who was invisible on the side, which made Li Shu breathe a sigh of relief. Combat Strength 1387. Have you made a new type of artificial human? Looking at the departing blue figure, Li Shu did not feel the existence of chi on the other party. This surprised him. In just a few days, Dr. Grow was able to create an android with a combat power of up to 1387. If you give Dr. Grow another period of time, the combat power will not exceed 10,000. The improvement of the sub-people in this game is even faster. How the hell did he do it? At the moment when the door was about to close, Li Shu slipped in silently, and the love for Dr. Grow that had been extinguished rose again. In fact, if it weren't for Dr. Grow's bottomless revenge on himself, he actually didn't want to kill the other party so early. Then let's capture it alive, let him explain all the android skills, and then compare it with the android handbook rewarded by the system. If it is not as good as the android handbook and then slaughter it, it's not too late. He still believes in Boomer, a genius girl. After all, in the future, Boomer can even build a time machine. It should be reasonable to get a few androids out, right? Walking inside the laboratory, looking at the equipment and machines that could not be named, Li Shu secretly smacked his tongue. Soon he spotted several androids that had not yet been activated, lying quietly in the cabin. Li Shu didn't rush to make a move. He had to find out the terrain of this place first, and find the location of Dr. Grow. However, soon Li Shu ran into difficulties. Almost every door here was locked, and he couldn't explore more. Li Shu frowned. I don't believe it. The android or the device here has suddenly disappeared, and Dr. Grow can't resist coming out to check it. After all, he wanted to capture Dr. Grow alive, and Li Shu did not plan to attack it to avoid some unforeseen accidents. Thinking of this, Li Shu spent 200 achievement points to expand the dimensional storage space by 200 square meters, which was enough to quietly empty all the things here. After everything was ready, Li Shu first took out the chip detection device, and after taking out the chip in the body of an artificial human head, he waved his hand and pocketed it. I wonder if Dr. Grow was too confident, and after waiting quietly for a few minutes, there were no alarms or anomalies occurring. Li Shu smiled, concocted the same method, and included all the androids and equipment in the dimensional storage space. A total of 13 androids. At this time, the entire laboratory on the first floor looked empty. Deep on the third floor of the lab, in the most secluded room, Dr. Grow was talking about something with a frantic face. And the object of his appeal turned out to be a corpse lying on the cold operating table. All the organs of the corpse were removed and placed in bottles and jars on the side. The container containing the organs is filled with an unknown liquid that seems to have the miraculous effect of keeping these organs fresh and preventing them from failing. This will be an epic-making work. A milestone in the Android series. Li Shu, that guy, the cell-active substances in his body are so peculiar. No wonder he has such great power. The immortal and immortal characteristics are really exciting. Mine, it's all mine now. If you can transform Li Shu into an artificial human, it must be the most perfect work. Dr. Grow muttered frantically to himself, removing the organs from the container soaked in an unknown liquid and reinserting them into the various electronic modules inside the corpse. If Li Shu was here at this moment, he would definitely be very shocked. Because the corpse lying there looked 7 or 8 points similar to him. It can't be said to be exactly the same, it can only be said to be carved out of a mold. On the first floor of the laboratory, Li Shubai sat boredly at the door leading to the second floor. Why haven't you come down yet? With such a big movement, there is no reaction at all. Strange, why can't I feel the slightest breath? Drive Grow won't transform himself into an android ahead of time, will he? Li Shu's face was a little subtle. In the original book, Dr. Grow had indeed transformed himself into an absorption-type android, and his strength should not be underestimated. If this weren't the case, with his level 10 chi sense, it would be impossible not to feel the breath. Looks like it's not that easy to capture Dr. Grow alive. Li Shu is not very worried about the artificial Dr. Grow. Judging from the combat power of the android who went out just now, the combat power of Dr. Grow, who was transformed in advance, will not be too outrageous. Looking at the ceiling, Li Shu unleashed the perspective ability of the Eye of Battle. However, this laboratory is made of unknown materials, and can see through the perspective of the human body, but cannot see through this steel plate of unknown material. Li Shu's patience gradually lost, and he planned to make a bigger move. In an instant, a punch smashed the door to the second floor, and the moment the invisibility technique was broken, he turned on the invisibility again. This time, the shrill sirens finally sounded. Dr. Grow, who was conducting the experiment, was startled, and his brow furrowed deeply on his rotten countenance. The masterpiece in front of him was about to be completed, and he didn't have the idea of going to check it out, and continued to do the work at hand. The lab is gone, and he can rebuild it. As long as the android in front of you can be transformed, the other android test items will be destroyed. Compared with the near-perfect artificial man in front of him, he didn't care about the garbage downstairs. He wasn't worried about who invaded the lab. As long as the masterpiece in front of him was completed, any enemy would be destroyed by it. Soon, he will rule the whole world. Downstairs, Li Shu waited for a long time, but still didn't see anyone, and his heart became more and more confused. Isn't it in the lab? Thinking of this, Li Shu no longer hid himself, and directly opened and closed, taking away all the things that could be taken away in the laboratory, and destroying everything that could not be taken away. In this way, I came all the way to the 3rd floor, and searched room by room. When he turned the entire lab upside down, he still didn't see Dr. Grow. Really, Li Shu was a little surprised. But in the divination picture of the soothsaying mother-in-law, Dr. Grow's is indeed in the laboratory. On the 3rd floor of the laboratory, in a hidden room. Dr. Grow was a little agitated, and the movement outside was so great that it affected his progress. So he stopped what he was doing for a moment and looked at the monitor on the side. However, the inside of the monitor was white, and most of the cameras were violently removed. Fortunately, there are still a few hidden cameras that have been retained, and some footage has been captured. Li Shu, when he saw the intruder's appearance, Dr. Grow became excited. He planned to complete the transformation of the undead android number 1, so he went to capture this kid alive for experiments, but he didn't expect the other party to come to the door by himself. Undead Robot Number 1 is the first product of the Artificial Man Undead series he created, which combines Li Shu's genes and has a strong self-healing ability. Theoretically, as long as the nanochips in the body are not destroyed, they can be reborn indefinitely. It's just a pity that the experimental subjects that fit Li Shu's genes are not easy to find. The experimental subject in front of him, which looks similar to Li Shu, can be said to be an unexpected discovery. Give me 2 more minutes, and you'll be done. Dr. Grow has full confidence in his hidden laboratory, unless he opens it from within. Otherwise, it is impossible for people from outside to find here. Of course, it is not absolute, unless the other party blows up the whole mountain. Then the laboratory hidden in the mountain will naturally be exposed. Li Shu was a little confused at the moment. He had searched all the places that could be found in the entire laboratory, and he did not find any secret rooms. Could it be that the divination of the mother-in-law has failed? The immediate result had to make Li Shu begin to doubt the ability of the divination mother-in-law. But after thinking about it, he felt that it was unlikely, and it was very likely that Dr. Grow was too cunning. In that case, the mountain can only be raised. Li Shu had already made a decision in his heart, and instantly slammed open the stone wall gate of the laboratory, came outside, looked at the mountain condescendingly, and slowly stretched out a palm, enveloping the entire mountain. Terrifying energy fluctuations were rapidly gathering in his palm. 5 seconds later, a huge wave of blue energy erupted. In an instant, there was a loud bang in the mountains. The mountains shook in a radius of thousands of miles, and countless birds and beasts fled one after another. When the energy dissipated, the original mountain no longer existed, and the laboratory disappeared, leaving only a lonely room, which appeared in Li Shu's gaze. There was a look of shock on Li Shu's face. Under his own attack, this hidden room was not only intact, but also absorbed his energy. However, Li Shu quickly understood, and exclaimed, "Good guy, you actually installed an energy absorption device on the outer wall of the room." Li Shu didn't stop, he rushed up directly and kicked the door. Energy absorbers are not invincible and are not immune to physical attacks. With the power that Li Shu did not reserve, the door burst instantly, and the scene in the room appeared in front of Li Shu's eyes. When he saw the situation inside, Li Shu's pupils suddenly contracted. He let him see himself in the room. Seeing the fruit body, he was a little confused at best. But the next scene directly made Li Shu shudder. I saw that Dr. Grow's bad old man was actually stroking the chest muscles of his other self with an intoxicated face. Then abs. And then, can't be then. Li Shu was furious in an instant, and a wave of energy light shot out directly. Although he knew that the thing in front of him that looked exactly like his own was not him, he felt a little sick in his heart. It's a perfect piece. I saw a crazy smile on Dr. Gro's rotten face, and as soon as he raised his hand, he absorbed the energy light wave that Li Shu had struck. Aren't you thrilled to see yourself so perfect? This is my most outstanding work, the Undead Android 1. Dr. Gro looked at Li Shu excitedly, looking very excited. Heartbeat Nima. Death to Lao Su, you dead pervert. The idea of capturing Dr. Gro alive was extinguished in an instant, and he now wanted nothing more than to take out the old immortal pervert as soon as possible. Combat Strength. 2933. Combat Strength. 7154. The former is the combat power of Dr. Gro, who has transformed himself into an android. The latter is the combat power of the Undead Android 1. To be honest, Li Shu was a little surprised, but that's all. He directly transformed into a Super Saiyan, and his combat power skyrocketed by 50 times. A staggering 249,600. Li Shu disappeared in an instant, and exploded Dr. Gro's head with a punch. Then he took advantage of the situation with an elbow strike, blowing the head of the Undead Android 1. The battle ended in an instant. However, the unexpected happened. I saw that the heads of Dr. Gro and the Undead Android -1 had grown again. Combat Strength. 3288. Combat Strength. 7589. Not only that, but the combat effectiveness of the two has been improved again. What a powerful gene. Dr. Gro laughed wildly and looked at Li Shu fearlessly, his whole person in a state of excitement. You can't kill me. The situation in front of him made Li Shu's expression solemn, and his heart was greatly shocked. But he quickly sneered, lifted his Super Saiyan form, and the smile on his face gradually became perverted. Good, finally someone can kill me. Kill you. Why did they kill you? Dr. Gro laughed maniacally. You are the perfect test subject. I can't bear to kill you. I will cut off your flesh piece by piece, and extract the blood from your body one by one, to create my army of undead androids. Quote. Ding. Congratulations. Trigger the hidden achievement quest, Weakness of the Immortal. Quote. Mission description. Use the Demon Seal Wave to seal Dr. Gro and the Undead Android 1. Rewards. Demon Seal Wave Rice Cooker and Immunity Seal. Magic Seal Wave Special Rice Cooker, a powerful sealing container. There is no upper limit to the number of seals, and it cannot be destroyed. Immunity Seal. The moment the skill is activated, the sealing skill will be invalid against you. After listening to the sound of the system, the corners of Li Shu's mouth lifted, and he laughed. Thank you so much, dear Dr. Gro. Dr. Gro's laughter stopped abruptly, and he looked at Li Shu with some confusion, and then said, It seems that you enjoy this kind of treatment. Li Shu smiled and said, Don't talk nonsense, hurry up, I want to see how you catch me. As you wish. Dr. Gro gave the order and attacked at the same time as the Undead Android 1. One after the other, he sandwiched Li Shu in the middle, and the move was fatal. The three of them fought together in an instant, and the sturdy room fell apart in an instant. Under normal conditions, Li Shu, although in terms of strength and speed, is not the opponent of the Undead Android number 1 at all. But it's just a disadvantage. The eye of fighting can clearly capture the opponent's movements, as well as the operation of energy in the body, and judge the opponent's movements in advance. The nose of war can see where danger is approaching in advance. With a combat power gap of only 2,600 points, the Undead Android number 1 is not enough to crush Li Shu. Ode. A fiery red aura exploded all over the body, and Li Shu, who opened the heart of the fight, began a counterattack. With one enemy against two, he actually pressed and beat Dr. Gro and the Undead Android No. 1. The performance of the Undead Android number 1 made Li Shu feel disappointed. The air has a strong fighting power, but it cannot be brought into play. Li Shu moved at a high speed, came to Dr. Gro's ear, turned on the lion's roar, and roared. What kind of garbage? That's it. That's it. I thought someone could finally kill me, but it turned out to make me happy in vain, and you really disappointed me. Dr. Gro immediately exploded in anger, and his head exploded directly under the sonic attack of the lion's roar gong at such a close range. However, Dr. Gro, who fused Li Shu's genes, soon grew ahead again. The combat power has soared again, reaching 3,787 points. He looked at Li Shu angrily, obviously breaking the defense, and shouted excitedly, "You know a fart. If you hadn't blown up the mountain, I wouldn't have rushed to start him. Would you dare to wait for me for a few minutes? I still have a program that I haven't written, and he can't use his full strength right now." Quote. And this kind of good thing. Li Shujung was worried that he couldn't get out and went to the Turtle Immortal to learn the demon seal, and the opportunity came. It was simply drowsy and someone sent a pillow. A program. A few minutes. Who do you look down upon? I'll give you 3 days. Write a few more programs. 1 day at a time. Could you please make him stronger, and then take me to Slice and study? Li Shu was not only full of sarcasm, but also full of sarcasm in his words, which made Dr. Grow angry. However, he did find some problems with the undead android one in this actual battle, and it took time to improve. Good. You wait for me. With that, Dr. Grow is about to leave with the undead android -1. Li Shu suddenly stopped them, and said with suspicion in his eyes, "You won't run away, will you?" Dr. Grow immediately became anxious and said angrily, "Where can I run? I'm hiding here. You can find it. Where can I run? It's good to know. Go quickly, don't say I didn't give you a chance." Li Shu waved his hand, with a look of disgust. "You wait for me." Dr. Grow, who left angrily, suddenly thought of something, turned around and asked angrily, "Hey. Can you give me 2 more days? My lab was ruined by you. It will take time to rebuild." Li Shu said speechlessly, "I'll give you 10 days. Enough, right? Good. You wait for me." Looking at Dr. Grow, who had left indignantly, Li Shu's face was full of mockery. Not to mention 10 days, he can agree to it in 100 days, this verbal agreement, except for honest people, who will take serious people seriously. He doesn't care about the appointment of a few days. As long as he learns the magic seal, he will kill it immediately, and all of it will be sealed. Li Shu returned to the Turtle Immortal house with a full harvest. In total, he scavenged more than 30 androids in Dr. Grow's lab, most of which were defective and semi-finished, but also had some research value. The main thing is to be able to exceed the task. When Boomer saw the android brought back by Li Shu, he was immediately stunned. "Did you empty Dr. Grow's lab?" Boomer looked at the androids in amazement. "Ding! Congratulations! Exceeded the hidden achievement mission, Boomer's Revenge." Quote. Get the reward. Android Handbook. Achievement +20. Bonus. Cyborg Universal Remote Control. +20 extra achievement. Android Handbook, a manual that contains all Android technologies, and is updated from time to time. Artificial Universal Remote Control. It can control the actions of all androids, with a signal coverage of 10 kilometers. When he saw the task reward, Li Shu was very surprised. With the Android Universal Remote Control, then the android did not pose any threat to him. All of Dr. Grow's efforts must be his own wedding dress. If Dr. Grow had known he had it, his expression would have been wonderful. I also found an Android Handbook in the lab. You can take it and study it. After Li Shu handed over the Android manual and the Android to Boomer, he took out the remote control and studied it. The Android Universal Remote Control doesn't look much different from a normal TV remote control. There are dozens of buttons on it, which basically cover all the commands to control the Android. Some difficult instructions are controlled through the voice function, which can be said to be very comprehensive. Li Shu had already thought about it, and before learning to seal Dr. Grow and sealing Dr. Grow, let him do a pole dance, and then perform a handstand to wash his hair. Technology is indeed powerful, but in the face of more powerful technology, you will find that your previous efforts are as ridiculous as a clown. After a 3-second silence in his heart for Dr. Grow, Li Shu found the Turtle Immortal. Demon Seal Wave. When he heard these 3 words, the Turtle Immortal was very surprised, and his expression became solemn, as if he remembered some bad memories. The fear of being dominated by the great demon king of Vic surged out of my heart again. But soon he relaxed. Even if the great demon king broke the seal, he didn't have to worry at all. Whether it is Li Shu or Wukong's current strength, it is enough to destroy the great demon king of Vic. The Turtle Immortal did not hide his secrets, and after just demonstrating it once, Li Shu learned to seal the wave. After a few exercises, he has mastered it thoroughly, and the success rate is as high as 100%. I don't know if it's an illusion, Li Shu found that his comprehension has become extremely high, and he can basically look at it. He's had this feeling for a long time, and if I'm not mistaken, it seems that he started to have it since he got the soul of fighting. Could it be that the role of the soul of battle is to improve one's understanding? Dr. Groh spent half a day preparing the equipment needed for the lab and setting up a rudimentary makeshift lab. Li Shu, you wait for me. Quote, just as Dr. Groh was preparing to perfect the undead cyborg 1, the abominable Li Shu appeared. Li Shu condescendingly looked at Dr. Groh with a bewildered face, and said with a smile, long time no see, Dr. Groh. It's only been half a day. Didn't you say 5 days? Dr. Groh was furious, he felt cheated. Li Shu said seriously, I'm also doing this for your own good, everything you're doing now is just useless. You fart. You're afraid I've perfected the undead android? No. 1. In the face of Dr. Groh's anger, Li Shu grinned, took out a remote control, and said, kneel. Dr. Groh was a little confused at first, not understanding what Li Shu was doing, but he quickly became frightened. He found that his body was kneeling uncontrollably. Not only that, but his masterpiece undead android number 1 was originally turned off, but it turned on automatically, and he also knelt on the ground. What did you do? Dr. Groh looked at the remote control in Li Shu's hand in disbelief. Li Shu frowned, didn't answer his question, and looked at the same self kneeling on the ground, which was really a bit embarrassing. Immediately, he took the remote control and adjusted it to a unicast signal, causing the undead android 1 to stand up and give Dr. Groh the command to pole dance. Dr. Groh was stunned, and his body danced uncontrollably. It's really spicy to dance this kind of dance when you're old. Li Shu laughed and said, let's perform a handstand to wash my hair, I've never seen it before. After 10 minutes, Dr. Groh collapsed, his eyes glazed and hollow. He had never felt that his life was so bleak. The technology that you are proud of seems so ridiculous at the moment, like a clown at the mercy of others. Dr. Groh suddenly felt that life had no meaning, and all his efforts were self-inflicted. Yo, are you planning to self-destruct? Li Shu raised the remote control in his hand, banned Dr. Groh's self-destruct system, and sneered, I'm sorry, from now on, your life is up to me. Dr. Groh's heart suddenly turned to ashes, and his old face was filled with despair and remorse. Li Shu, who lost his playful heart, cast a magic seal wave to seal the undead android number 1 and Dr. Groh. Ding! Congratulations! Complete the hidden achievement quest, Weakness of the Undead. Quote. Get rewards. Demon Seal Wave Rice Cooker and Immunity Seal. Magic Seal Wave Special Rice Cooker, a powerful sealing container. There is no upper limit to the number of seals, and it cannot be destroyed. Immunity Seal, the moment the skill is activated, the sealing skill will be invalid against you. Immunity Seal, cool. He only needs to accumulate enough 100,000 achievement points to improve his immortal body again, and he will no longer have any weaknesses. Immortal, immune to seals, invincible. At this moment, the voice of the system sounded again, which surprised Li Shu. Ding! Congratulations! Complete the hidden achievement quest, The Potential of the Turtle Immortals. Quote. Get reward. Bloodline activation. Achievement plus 2-0. Bloodline excitation, it can stimulate the hidden power in the bloodline. Did the Turtle Immortals succeed? Li Shu was in a very happy mood and quickly returned to Guixian Island. Seeing the Turtle Immortal lying on the ground dying, Wukong nervously looked at the values on the vital characteristics detection device, holding a fairy bean in his hand and ready to feed it at any time. And next to the two of them, there was a tattered android. Li Shu recognized it at a glance. It was the blue-clothed android who flew out of Dr. Groh's laboratory when he first found it. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.